Do you want to be a part of the Coco community? Sure, we all do. So join this free weekly live talk show to find out how easy it is to watch at home and learn about your color computer. At the CoCoNation, more than 9 million men and women have participated in the community without setting foot outside their homes. And now at home in your spare time, you can see what's happening, or even join the discussion. Choose from any one of these segments: panel intros, project updates, acquisitions, Coco thoughts, featured interviews and events, the Game On Challenge, news, Ron's Garage, Coco commercials, show coverage, panel goodbyes, or you can join one of our extra shows. You can choose from the Game On Challenge Live or Coco Tech. Join the CoCoNation right now.
Click the link for the free information TJB Chris spoke about. Then decide if you want to watch the CoCoNation Live Show, the world's leading live weekly talk show featuring the Tandy color computer, its siblings, cousins, and red-headed stepchildren. Visit thecoconation.com. There is no obligation and no salesman will visit you. Visit thecoconation.com.
The CoCoNation show is an unscripted, live, and interactive broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own, and not necessarily those of the CoCoNation show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds are encouraged, and a sense of humor is recommended. Thank you for being a part of the CoCoNation.
Radio Shack? Okay.
What?
The 80s called.
Welcome to the CoCoNation, the world's first live and interactive talk show featuring the Tandy color computer and its hardware cousins.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CoCoNation Show, episode 419. I'm back in the driver's seat again.
Thank goodness.
No offense to the substitute host we had, but you definitely do this a lot smoother.
A little more practice, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that is the main thing.
Let's see. On the panel today, we have yours truly. Let's see. Next over, we got Kevin Holloway.
Hello, everybody.
And Ron Super Deluxe.
Hello, everybody.
And
Welcome.
Marco.
Hey there. Good evening.
That was a little broken up.
Wow.
Yeah, easy for you to say.
Yeah.
All right. Next over, Rick Euland.
Dang. And I was going to say there is no HTML 419, so we're in the clear this week. But obviously...
next week will be fun. Let's see. Quigon.
Howdy.
And next row, we got Brian Weasler.
Hello, all. Welcome to the show.
And we got L Curtis Boyle.
Welcome to the show, everyone.
And Ken Waters.
Woohoo! I'm number last.
What room are you in this time?
Same one. It's just got a bunch of construction stuff in it.
Oh, let's see.
So the panel looks a bit smaller. Do you think that's because we're starting to hit the summer holidays where some people are actually, taking off with kids and stuff and going camping or something?
People with lives, I hate them.
A lot older.
All you have to do is take your computer with you. Come on, I'm at the beach.
Yeah, we have the Porta Coco battery system now. That's easy. So
Right.
We're all older. We shuffle between rooms.
I'm thinking beach camping. What's that?
Is it time for a break?
that's where you lay under a palm tree and use your Porta Coco. That's what you do.
Okay.
Oh, I just realized I never put a shirt on today. I'm wearing just a t-shirt.
That's all right.
That's okay. Canada Day's coming up pretty darn quick. So
I'll be back.
Got to get colorful.
In the chat, we got Wayne Campbell, Kevin Holloway, scroll, Michael Zwiffle, La Cocos Tregentiado,
just call him Bob Emery.
Bob Emery, okay.
Right.
Let's see. Wayne Nut, let's see. Jim Rye, Brian Blake, 8-Bits in the Basement, J.E. Jones, Tom Eric Gunderson, Marco, Peter Willard, and we're caught up. Okay, let's see. Do we want project updates or do we have any general discussions?
I do have one plea for the community in general.
Okay.
We were talking about trying to get a Coco 4 show. So this would be all the machines in 91, 92 that were planned to be sequels to the Coco 3 after Tandy discontinued it. And I've got a response from, I think it was Joel Evie, who's got an MM1, so he's willing to demo that on the show. And I've got a TC9. I just got to make a boot floppy for it so I can actually boot it up to show people. But we need people that have some of the other ones. So anybody who's got a TC70, a Kix 20 or a Kix 30, those are all by Frank Hogg Labs. A Delmar System 4, System 5, and I believe, Rick, you have one. Is it functional?
I have a 5, but I really need to get a Blue SCSI or something for it because I don't know how much longer the drive that's on it's going to be a drive. So I need to copy it off right away.
Okay. AT306 by Whitman Computer Products and MM1Bs, which are by Blackhawk. So that's the 68340 accelerator version of the MM1. So anybody's got those, contact me at curtisboyle@sastel.net, or you can email the show itself. And there's no set time on this. I'm just going to, try to get some people to come on and show some of these machines off. We can't get them all. At least I can show the ads and stuff so people know what they are. It's not planned to be anytime in the near future. So Rick, you got lots of time to get a Blue SCSI. But just putting the public plea out now so we can actually line up, guests for the show and get these machines shown to everybody.
Same with making art for it too.
Hold on.
Yes, no.
Well, sorry, what was that, Ron?
I have the same amount of time for making artwork for it too.
Yeah, make a nice little title card for it for the show.
Right.
Do you have any of those machines, Ron, yourself?
No, I sold my MM1.
Okay, and you didn't get any from Paul?
No.
He didn't have any of those? I couldn't remember if he had them or not.
No, he didn't. Nope.
He kind of made his own Coco 4 using an actual Coco 3, so.
Yeah, he was a wizard.
Anyway, yeah, I just want to put the public call out for that because I would like to do a show because I think a lot of people that got out of the Coco before Tandy quit selling the Coco 3 are unaware completely that any of this stuff even existed or was even planned. So it'd be kind of nice to do a big roundup for everybody that didn't catch up.
When the VCC came out, was that? Do you know when that was?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, because that seemed to me to be so cool to be able to, it's like next generation. It was fast and it's on PC, and it seemed to me to be like
for me it wasn't VCC. For me it was Jeff Aviser's Coco emulator, which came out in like 91, 92. That was the one.
Yeah, well, I had that too, but that was clunky, and it didn't do 3. Right.
Yeah, he had to pay for that one though. Coco 1 2 is free, and the Coco 3 core you had to give.
That's right. That's why I didn't have
$20. Yeah. Anyway, anybody who's got those machines, even if they're non-functional, just so we could show them on the show, that would be great. So, all right, that's all I had.
Okay, let's move on to project updates. Quigon.
All right, I had quite a few acquisitions in the past few weeks, but wasn't really in a position to show them because I wasn't near my setup.
Are you married?
No.
Oh, there you go. Have fun, man.
But well, I had to kind of reacquire as I, had to move across the country in February, late February. So I have recently acquired this one I got from Rick Hewlin there. The
What do they,
Two
what
button
do they
deluxe.
call that?
This is the PC Junior version of the Deluxe that he adapted to the Coco. So
Deluxe. I like
That's
that
nice
name.
shape too. It's really nice white, no yellowing.
yeah, it's very good shape. And then I've got a box of Black Beauties that I got from Mark Marlette.
Nice.
Cloud9. Yeah.
And then I also, when I went down to Florida, I was going through my storage and I had a few things that were still left sitting around that I didn't get rid of. Is I found a pair of Dragon 32 joystick controllers.
Nice.
Oh, awesome.
And I have the box as well. So
double nice.
That was nice to find. I forgot that I even had those. So they're kind of reacquired, I guess you'd say.
Do you have a Dragon?
I do not, but they still will work with the Coco as well.
No, certainly.
Let's see here. Got a couple more cartridges that I got when I was down in Florida. I couldn't find one of my Coco 3s that I had left, and I wound up buying a Coco 3 from a guy on Facebook, and it came with a speech sound cartridge.
Cool.
It came with Finance 2. Ooh.
That's a top seller.
The video text cartridge.
Oh, just as equal.
The audio spectrum analyzer.
That's fun.
Old version or new version, or have you tried it yet?
I have not tried it yet. Not a Coco item, but with the adapter, who knows? The Star Raiders controller for the Atari.
Cool.
2 modems.
What's the Star Raider thing do for people that don't know what?
Well, it's basically a number pad.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, and those modem packs you can actually convert to an RS-232 pack too. So
yes, so that one of those will probably get done that way at some point. And then from Ed Snyder, an SDC.
How recently was that?
What's that? Oh, this was recent.
Oh, okay.
So I got that. And then another shipment from Rick was the Bonobo, Bonobo board. Got one of those. And I'm going to switch over to a different thing here real quick so I can show a little bit more of my stuff without tearing apart my desk.
Somebody was just saying they had to get another space to put their Coco stuff on. Who was that?
Right?
Do you have enough space? You can answer when you come back. Can't hear you. Looks like he has a multi-pack there.
I think he's taking a photo or something.
Maybe.
Or trying to broadcast the.
Yeah, it's that.
Yeah, we can't hear you, unfortunately.
Nor see it.
Right,
what about now?
No.
Yeah, I heard.
Okay,
Said what about now?
Here.
But not see you.
Okay, but can you see my Coco?
Yes.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
see you pointing to it there. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're getting your standard camera shot. If you're trying to shoot it through the phone, we're not seeing that.
What are the colors there next to the Coco 3 there?
Okay, back to the regular login. What was the colors you asked about?
There's like a colored thing. Is there something way next
On
to
the
the
keyboard.
The keyboard has that's the Coco Mech keyboard that Ed made.
Oh, okay.
And if you look at, well, you can't see it now, but the break key was a Cylon from the
Yeah, it is on mine too.
which I like, and so I was able to retrieve that, and I finally found that. I couldn't find it at first. That's why I bought the other Coco 3 when I was down in Florida, because the Coco 3 that I had acquired a little bit earlier, it it works, but it's got a bit of a glitch occasionally with the RAM, when you turn it off and on. And this one here, this Coco 3 with the Gimme X and the 8 megs of RAM and the CoCoMech keyboard does not have that glitch. So that's a little bit better setup than the other one I had. And I got that one I was required, but the MPI I got from Mark Marlett as well recently. And
So are your arrow keys blue? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yes, the arrow keys are blue, and then it's also the keyboard's also got the extra etching for the Nitrous 9.
Oh, awesome! All the extra control keys and stuff and what they do.
Yeah, so that way you could see that without having to memorize everything like that. And so, and if you notice when I showed the multi-pack, it's got Farfall in there because it works with the Gimme X versus regular Coco 3s.
Was that upgraded?
Well, the Coco 3 will play the Coco 2 video modes. So
no, what I'm saying is your multi-pack upgraded to.
Oh yeah, multi-pack was upgraded, yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I had that's new acquisitions for the Coco related stuff. These are, I don't know if you can, the Tech Dragon arcade type stick.
Tech Dungeon.
Tech Dungeon, yeah, Tech Dungeon. That, and I've got the analog one as well. Those are both plugged into the Joey. And then move this out of the way. And then I've also got an Atari joystick going into my setup as well. I've got.
Sounds like you have lots of joy.
Yes, lots of joy. Now,
sounds like he has lots of time. No, he doesn't have a day job at the moment.
Pretty much. Now, this here is waiting for its final components to use. This is the David Ladd designed mouse adapter to go to the joystick and whatnot. I'm waiting on cables and mouse to go there. So I've got that waiting to go.
Yeah, that works pretty slick. David gave me one of those too. So
yeah, I got two of them, but I don't have room for two setups at the moment. So, but yes,
you have the 6-pin. You have the 6-pin DIN cable for that.
Well, I have 6-pin cable.
Yeah, do you have the 6-pin DIN to go between it and your Joey?
Oh, I believe so.
Okay. I don't really have any spare ones of those, otherwise I'd send you one.
But yeah, I've got one coming from what do you call it? Sloopy.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, I've got two coming from Sloopy because I figured I might as well get two. So I've got two adapters. Yep. But yeah, so yeah, I don't have a day job anymore, so or an evening job or a weekend job. So yeah. But yeah, I found a couple other things that, when I was going through my storage unit.
Oh, Nick's Popstar.
And Bomb Threat.
And Bomb Threat.
And then these were things that I also reacquired.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
So
from Neal Blanchard, there looks like.
Yes. And Neal was actually one to help me kind of get rid of a lot of things that I wasn't able to hold on to and whatnot. But he saved those for me and shipped them to me up from when I wasn't able to get down there yet because I was starting my treatment. Wasn't sure how things would be healthy enough to go back down to Florida to get stuff. So I had to get rid of a lot of stuff instead of paying on a large storage unit. So, but now, treatment's going well and not having any side effects really. So, it's kind of having time to be able to play with stuff. So, and the other item that I got recently that could be Coco related would be 2600 paddles that want to see what maybe I can do with those. So I think that's everything that I had this week. Well, actually, in the past few weeks, but got a few things that were supposed to be delivered today or yesterday, but got bumped my Coco VGA that I bought off of Steve Batson was supposed to have been delivered yesterday, but UPS or FedEx, whatever, messaged me and said it didn't get on the truck from transfer, so it's going to be delayed till Monday.
So what are you looking forward to getting in the future?
Well, this is the basic stuff that I was trying to get as far as hardware wise. I'm not sure what else I might get. The only thing I might possibly get in the future is the MIDI pack from Jim Brain, because I've got some synth stuff that I could interface with it. But
Do you have Coco 1 and 2?
oh, I've got a Coco 2 stock, but then the Coco VGA Coco 2 is the one that's coming on Monday. So between the VGA and the Gimme X, I should be pretty well set. I do have a pre-order in on the Gimme Z to put in my one of my other Coco 3s. That's got a 512 in it, and a 639. So, and the Gimme X one I have back here also has 639 in it as well. So that one I actually bought boxed at one point in time, and it wouldn't turn on. So I just sent the whole box to Ed to install the Gimme X and fix the computer. So he did all that and sent it back.
Yeah, Gimme X is nice to have.
Yes.
And now we got the Gimme Z that's duplicating some of the functionality, and we'll keep adding some more too.
So that would be nice to have both of those to be able to, use all the features and whatnot. So yeah, the past 3 weeks have been quite a lot of additions to the Coco setup. And I've got a few more things coming from Rick Euland, some cartridges and stuff like that I ordered.
Well, pretty soon you'll be looking like us. It's a great.
I know. It's just like, I mean, like I said, when you're retired, basically is what the case is like, but I split my time between Delaware and Maryland. So this setup's in Maryland. I don't have a setup in Delaware. My treatment is out of Delaware. So I go back and forth. I stay with my uncle over there, and then I got a college roommate that I stay with over in Maryland. So kind of, I was like, if I can't just stay in one spot, sit around, I got to move around a little bit. Don't want to be stagnant.
Yeah. Well, it's good to hear your treatment's going well.
Yeah.
And now you got a lot of stuff to do with the free time. So,
well, yeah, I had to go into the hospital the other day because they having trouble getting a blood return from my port, but they were able to get it, and the doc's like, nothing's wrong with the port. It just must have been a little fluke the one time when they were trying to get it. So I was like, I didn't want to get another surgery for that, but because the port's up here, but the inside, the catheter is like all the way down. And it's like, so I'm not sure how complicated it is to redo. So that was not something I was looking forward to. The only negative that I have so far really is my spicy food tolerance is lacking. And my tongue will just numb up in a weird way, not like a normal way you'd have with spicy food. So that's about it. So, and now that I'm not working, I can actually be able to show more often. So,
okay. Well, thanks for showing that. It looks like you got a pretty good collection there in a pretty short period of time.
Yes.
Okay, Mark, who's next?
Brian.
Nice shirt, Brian.
No, you're muted.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Okay. So yeah, I got something here I want to show today here. I'll switch cameras here and you guys can tell me what you think it is. Some of you may already know, so if you do, just hold off on the ones that don't know yet. So let me go ahead and switch cameras here. Get the right one here. Okay, let me turn this light off. Might make it a little bit easier. There we go.
I know it's a.
Seems familiar to me.
It's a Dell, right? No, I'm just kidding.
It's a blender?
Darts Dell.
Any
It's not a Gateway 2000. I don't see spots.
Any guess here?
I think it's a System 5.
Let me go
Sure
ahead.
looks like one.
Is it a repack?
It is one. Is that a CPU card on the bottom we can't see?
Yeah,
What is it? Yeah. Okay, what is it?
Just an AT?
Take the cover off and let us see.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Okay, let's see here. See if this will. Let me see if I get this positioned right here.
Oh, it's not a repack, is it?
No.
Okay, now just hold on here a second. Ooh, it's
We're
really
going in.
Focus,
Okay, hold
focus.
on.
I mean,
Hold
light.
on. Yep, hold on here. Let me. I found some settings now, guys, so I can tweak a
Manually
little.
focus. Awesome.
MC
68306.
6830.
Oh, 6830.
No, 68306 is correct.
Yeah, okay. 06 FC16.
There we go. Now you guys can see it.
What is that?
It doesn't need a fan.
No. So I'll go back to Mark B. What did you say, Mark?
I was just reading the chip.
No, what was your guess?
A repack, but
No, you said something after that. You said
For God's sakes, just tell us.
shoot, I just forgot. Shoot, I forgot.
Well, let's put it this way. A little bit. Curtis's announcement that he had was a bit timely with all of this. So this is an AT306. It's a 68,000 processor. It was a computer built by Farna. Oh shoot! All of a sudden, I'm drawing a blank on the names here. Keith. What was the guy's name there? I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden.
Wasn't it Bill Whitman sold this, or?
No, I had the name there. I should bring up the ad there.
Trying to make notes for the show when you get
Oh
older.
yeah. Yep. So let me go ahead and focus back here.
So Frank Swaggart was Farna, but I don't know who all was associated with the computer.
So this
Yeah, the 68306 is a 68000 16 megahertz chip, but it's a microcontroller, so it's got a whole bunch of extra stuff like serial ports and timers and stuff built into it.
I had this all on my head, then all of a sudden now I started drawing a blank here a little bit here.
Right.
That's why I have copious notes.
And
I know.
that is exactly the same case that Delmar used. That's why it looks so familiar. Except the Delmar
okay.
would have a little square sticker in that little inlet.
James Jones is guessing was it Kevin Pease who was involved in some
There it is.
hardware design of some of the Coco
Kevin.
cores.
There you go. Thanks, James. So
And Sixxie says Google says a 68306 is an inflatable canoe.
So James Jones, as you guys know, he worked for Microware, and this system actually came from him. He had this with his stuff, and he wanted to find a good home for it, and so now I have it. This did have a different drive in it. It had one of those dual drives where it has a 5 1/4 and a 3 1/2 in one unit, and he wanted to hold on to that. So I put my own 5 1/4 and 3 1/2 inch drive into it. I haven't got those working yet, but I did have them available, so I installed those.
The bottom one's the cover?
Yes. Yep. So let's see here. It's kind of hard to see with the cables though, but let's see, I think there's probably enough here you guys can see here. Let me just down the camera just a little bit here. There we go. So inside this, what was kind of nice about this, so like the MM1 and some of those, and correct me if I'm wrong, step in here, guys. They were kind of a multi-board type of system where, you know, they had either stacking boards or multiple boards. This one here was I think one of the first that put everything on one board that's in the back right here, like a traditional PC would have. It has 5 ISA slots, so it uses regular cards. This is a Hercules VGA card, and this is an AdaptDec SCSI card that's in here.
You mean PC cards?
Yep.
Yeah. Rick Euland, I think the System 4 and 5 did that too, didn't they?
It was a little different. The main board was just a backplane, and you had a CPU card that went in the bottom. But then after that, it was all just PC stuff. I have a SingLight video and a normal adapter, IO adapter. But yeah.
So it has a built on the board. There's an IDE interface because it has an IDE hard drive in it. It also has a built-in floppy drive controller for the floppies. It uses a regular PC power supply. It also has it uses regular PC memory, and it also has a COM port and parallel port on it. and it's all on there. It even has a real-time clock. It doesn't work. The battery that's on there, I need to replace, but I'll be doing that. But I'm just now starting to learn a little bit about the system. James and I have been chatting back and forth, trying different things, trying to find out what information we can find with it. I was fortunate enough to, when searching on Facebook to see if there might have been some information, or just doing some Googling around, there was a guy by the name of Christopher, I think it's pronounced Pruitt, I think is how it's pronounced. It was on a Microware Facebook page, and this goes back about back to 2018. He posted that he had a manual, but he didn't have his AT306 anymore. And so just out of a whim, I went ahead and messaged him to see if he still had the manual, and he did. And he sent me the manual there. So now this manual here is not, it says owner's manual, but it doesn't really talk about the unit itself, as far as like you might have a drawing of the system board, and it's pointing to say this is the COM port and whatnot. This system was built, I think it was built specifically to run OS 9. And so this manual says using OS 9 on the AT306. I know it's a little blurry, but that's what that says there. So it goes through all the OS 9 commands for the 68,000 OS 9 that Microware did. And it's a nice manual. You can see.
What's the actual Microware manual too? I thought maybe they did a custom one.
Yep. So I'm not exactly sure what version of OS 9 this was. If you read the ad in the what's that magazine, Curtis?
World of 68 Micros, the one that Frank Swigert put out.
Yep. If you read the ad that was in there, they talk about, for cost reasons, they didn't put the full-blown OS 9 in there. It was more of a trimmed down version of OS 9. It still had some of the functionality, but I'm not sure exactly what it didn't have to a regular OS 9. But yeah, if you guys want to give me a minute, you want to see this thing power up?
Yes. And then we'll have to have you back on should do it again when we do our Coco 4 special.
Right. Okay, let me just switch cameras here for a second.
I think this came out, was it 94 we figured out?
Yeah, I think it was 94 that we figured.
It was one of the later Coco 4s, quote unquote.
It uses a regular AT keyboard, AT style keyboard with the 5-pin DIN.
Actually, the XT style. Or I guess you're right. It's the AT, the old AT, 86.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Get myself set up here, and power. Okay, I think. Make sure I got the buttons pressed here and stuff like that. Okay, I think I'm ready to go here. Let's see here. Let me switch cameras. Okay, let's see here. There it goes. Can you guys see that?
We have light.
Yep. AT306. Just give
no clock.
No clock.
You don't have an RTC.
More means no clock battery, but.
Okay, now unfortunately mine, I can see it fully on the screen, but my video capture kind of cuts off here. This should say user right here, so it's just cutting off the U. It's cutting off the O here for OS 9.
By the way, it is saying it's OS 9 60K version 3, which is the later version. Some of the older, like M1s came with 2.4, I think. So this is a more modernized version of OSK.
Right. Yep. I see what you did. I'm not sure what that's causing that blinking on the bottom there. Sorry, guys. Maybe that's just me. You guys seeing that flash sheet on the bottom?
Yeah. Are you getting it on the main monitor too, or is this just on your capture?
Just on my capture, I think, here. So I'm not sure what's causing that. Sorry.
Are you going to go to a GUI?
Okay, so it comes up here, and if I do a dir, you can see that there's here's some of the OS9. I'm not sure, Curtis, if you want to guide me, if there's anything you want to look in particular here. I can do an mdir.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of terminals.
Now that HE or H0B, I did find that this that it does have a let's see here. That's kind of annoying here. Let me try something here. Give me one second here again.
Driver?
Rick, you're probably more familiar with OSK than I am, so
Well,
feel free to pipe in.
Where's NBF is just what I was wondering. I didn't see any network stuff in that.
Okay, hold on here a second. Let me.
I may be confused, but and probably.
Well, like Brian was saying, like they mentioned that they had to get, I think, personal OSK and then add one file manager just to keep the cost down, because back then Micro was charging like $1,000 for the full thing, and he was trying to sell the computer and the OS for like $400.
Right.
Sorry, I'm trying to do a power reset here to see. I guess I never noticed this on mine. So, okay. Sorry about that. I'm not sure why that video capture is doing that. I have a VGA to HDMI adapter. That's the only way I could get it to do video capture here. So, sorry about that annoyance there. So yeah, I mean, back to if I do the dir here now, from what I understand, and this is what James and I have been kind of working on a little bit. You see there's a folder there called MGR, and that's from what I understand that was supposed to be a GUI type interface for this OS here. I haven't been able to get it to work yet. Every time I run it, I get some craziness that goes on the screen there, and so I'm not sure if maybe it's the video card itself. I was going to try to reseat in the memory on the video card. Or if it's just not the right driver, but I can show you here what it does. It does some really wacky stuff here.
But before you do that, James Jones was recommending an mfree output just so we can see how much RAM you got.
Yep. Oh.
16 meg free, so.
Yep. Yeah, it's a 16 meg machine there. So yeah, there's the 4 meg chips on there.
Yeah, they're Sims, right?
Yes. Yep. If I do, let's see here. Here's the other partition, and in here there's also an MGR folder, and I'll show you what this one looks like here first.
Yeah, it's got its own startup file there too. I wonder if it's got some config stuff you got to do for MGR.
Yeah, so you can see here there's MGR. It's kind of cut off a little bit, and there's these. Is tar? Is that a compression file? Tar.
Yeah, tarball.
Tape archive. It's just a bunch of files packed together.
Okay.
Not usually compressed.
Right. If I do, let's see here. How do I go back one folder? I always forget that
CD
one.
space ... There
we are. Okay, so if I do a list of the startup, this one does have some stuff in it. Whoops. It looks like it sets up some shells or something like that, some separate shells and stuff. Is that what it's doing?
Yeah, it looks like it's to different devices. So T0, I'm assuming, is a terminal, but VC is that virtual consoles, like different windows or something?
Yeah, that's what I'm not sure about.
So does your clear key do anything?
Oh, well, this isn't the startup that ran, Rick. I'm sorry. This is the startup. Okay. This is just the startup that's on the other
partition.
Yeah, the other partition there.
Okay. I was going to say that implies that you've got some.
Right. If I do a list of the startup here, this one's a little bit this is a little bit simpler. Basically, all it does is
it lists the message of the day and
then does the date there. So much simpler. But I can go ahead and restart it here after. But this is what it does when I do a MGR. If I try to run it, it'll think for a second and then
Well, stop your blinking at the bottom anyway.
Right.
Right.
Then all I get is this craziness like this, where I get these horizontal or these vertical lines, and then that stuff on the bottom. But if I hit like the enter key, you can see it. It's like it's doing
Things
something.
are happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know yet.
That's almost like it's displaying the wrong mode for what the software thinks it's doing.
Yeah. So not sure yet what's happening there. But if I do a control delete on it, it'll go ahead and reboot, and we'll come back up again.
Can't you reset your converter?
No,
You
that's
tried that already.
That's the that's the way it looks on my screen too, Rick. Or Ron. Should be coming up here in a second. There we go. So not sure what else you guys want to see there. There is some stuff in the docs folder.
You didn't
Nothing on MGR though?
You didn't get the clock error, did you?
This would technically work if you go to that second drive where you had the second startup and just run that. See if it does anything. You can just type /startup and it will just execute it live. And since you haven't done any other startups,
right? Okay, yeah. Let's look at this here real quick first, and then and then we'll go back. One thing that's kind of interesting though. I was kind of like just doing a list on some of these real quick, and that one that says TOK, T-O-K. If I do a list on that one, it's actually a document that was written by Boise Pete. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Is that token doc or something? What is that?
Yeah. Well, why do I always want to do that? Okay.
doc would be a Dynastar file usually, which is pretty much text. So that would make sense. Tokens.
Token processor, which is advanced tokens. That I know it kind of cuts it off for you guys there. And lines of text and word symbols separated, it goes on. But if I go all the way to the end of the document here, let's see here. I don't think it was very long. I just thought it was kind of interesting. I was just kind of scrolling through some of the docs here. I think this is the one. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, June 5th, 1994. So that kind of confirms our date too.
Yep. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting. I was kind of scrolling a little bit there, and wonder if his Delphi still works there. The Boise on Delphi.
Or his CompuServe.
CompuServe,
yeah. So do it during the docs there before we try the startup. I just want to see if there's anything that might even hint at MGR stuff.
I didn't see anything in here, so but maybe something else that you see, I might not.
There's stuff about special keys. I wonder if that would tell you how to switch windows if you have virtual consoles running.
You want me to list that one? See what it says there?
Yeah, list keys doc. Let's try that one first.
Where are you at there?
Should be left column, second one down, I think.
Yep, there it is.
I'm hoping I list special keys, so.
Right.
Oh, it's not very long there. Break or control pause sends sig quit.
Okay, that's to abort a process. Alt scroll like dumps registers. Oh, that's interesting. It's got some debugging stuff built. You can call the ROM bug monitor. And bind. Okay, that doesn't tell me anything about switching windows. Damn it.
Yeah, I think there's something. There is some stuff in the manual that I think that talks about special keys as well, as far as stuff that's within the OS 9.
Yeah, I do like some of that debugging stuff that's built in, like calling the ROM monitor and then dumping the registers with a couple of key sequences. That's cool. Try listing keyboard mode doc. Maybe that'll have something different. Upper right corner of the dirt.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
After that, I'm going to give up for now.
Okay.
D, man.
Whoop. What did I type in?
You missed the D. Sorry, that came out wrong.
Let's.
KBD mode.
Oh, there we go.
And page.
Reporter
OS
set
9
the
Programmer's
keyboard.
Manual.
Oh, raw scan codes and stuff from the AT keyboard. Okay, gotcha.
Continue.
Yeah. It's not gonna tell me what I was hoping.
Oh. Oh, warning, changing keyboard mode will probably make your keyboard unusable. And that's it.
That's later. That's 1995. Wow.
Should we go check out that one folder that Rick was talking about there?
Yes, we can try running the alternate startup.
CD.
Yeah, maybe we can explode it forever.
Oops. That's not what I wanted there. Oh, what am I doing here? Okay. CD. There we go. And just type in startup here.
That's got its own set of commands directories there too.
Yeah.
Rick, do you think we should change the execution directory too? That works the same in OSK, doesn't it?
Sure. Yeah. Just.
So
I don't know if you need the H or if it's just CX, but one of those.
Whoops. Is it CDX or CHX?
Try CHX. We'll try that first. Otherwise, we'll try CX.
And then you have to put something behind it, or
space commands. I think
space in the directory. Yeah.
Like you might need the path. I'm not sure. Yeah, try that. Okay, try CHX space /H0B/ commands. Yeah, there we go. Now try running startup, and it should run off the commands off this directory too, in case they're different than the ones on the boot directory.
All right.
Let's start up again.
Maybe /startup like the Linux stuff. It may not be executable itself. You have to run it as a shell file.
Okay, yeah. Try /startup.
There we go.
Carl Kreider Electronics.
So now we've got things running. 3 of them, wherever they are.
That's what I was trying to think of. Is that is the Creator Electronics? Sorry, that's what I was drawing a blank on earlier.
Now it says there shell can't open T0 module not found. Do an emder? I thought I saw a T0 in there. No, it's T1.
T1, yeah. Oh well, you can't log in remotely. Now we have to bang on every key on the keyboard to see if you have any more windows. Oh, I know. Do a prox and see if or something like that, and see if there's
prox
stuff running.
PROX
CS.
CS.
Wow, even Ron knew.
Yeah, I know that one.
Woohoo!
Okay. There we go.
He's a learned man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got shells running all over the place.
Yeah, you got Virtual Console 0 through 3, so you've got multiple windows. How do you get to them?
What's the magic key to switch?
Let's see here.
Like the manual didn't mention any of this stuff?
Well, it may have. I haven't sat down and read it all yet there, so, or read through it yet. So.
And James Jones, since you're in the chat, this was originally a machine. Do you remember?
Let's see here. Looking real quick here. I know I saw something about keys.
Yeah, because it's saying you're running prox on Virtual Console 0. So you're currently on the VC0 terminal. How do we switch to the other ones?
I'm looking here. I thought I saw something about some keys and stuff like that. Let's see if I can find something real quick here while we're looking.
James Jones says maybe T mode would show it.
T mode?
Yeah, TMODE.
Yep, T mode.
Yeah, it says you're on
VC0.
VC0. It's not say how to switch.
Basic
Did you-
functions. Here we go. Use
68K sports tabs properly. That's good.
Sixxie said maybe meta key combinations, plus 1, 2, 3.
Like maybe Alt F1 for Windows 0 and Alt F2 for.
Yeah.
Try hitting Alt F2. What the heck?
Oh,
aha!
Yeah, worked.
So Alt F3, which should take you to the third, and Alt F4 should take you to the fourth one. I would guess.
Sixxie for the win.
Yes.
I mean, I'm hitting it, but it's I mean, it's
Well,
unless
but
they're
now
all,
if you,
Well, it'll jump you like F1, F2, F3, F4. I'm guessing will be that window number.
that
So if you hit
window,
Alt
right.
F3, it should switch to the third one. If you hit F1, it should go back to the original one you were on.
and that
So
way it
let's-
doesn't have to
I'm just-
tell you. Yeah.
I'm just gonna this here. Oops.
Wonder if that takes any memory.
There's kind of a delay in the keyboard. That's weird. I was trying to type the word. Wow.
Because right now it's asking you to log in again with whatever username.
Why I wonder why there's a delay on the keyboard.
We've done it wrong, haven't we? Oh, well, we established it's there. Now we just have to figure out how to use it.
Read that.
Wow, it's running those other processes slow, isn't it?
Okay, so if I do Alt F3, okay, yep. So there we are. So I'm just gonna type some stuff on the screen here just so we can see the difference there. Alt F4, so there's that one.
Ken Reichert says, "Welcome to Old DOS PC Talk."
There's
Actually,
there's
it's more like
Gus couldn't multitask. Sorry.
there's that's Alt F5, 6.
I think these are all the same.
Yeah, I think at some point you just roll it.
Because I think we saw when we did the procs, there's only 1 or 0 through 3 or 1 through 4 was running.
Okay, and then F1 did me brought me back to there
home.
then. So
Yeah. And there you can see the shell SH is running on VC0, VC1, VC2, VC3. In fact, if you do a procs now, you should see another possible shell.
Oh, yeah, and much less freedom in your mfrees.
Oh yeah, there's the none. So we got a shell sitting there and it's waiting for you to type. That's on the other window.
yep.
Nice.
Yeah,
In fact, if you do something like echo, you might be able to send a message to another window and
Oh,
see it
yeah.
show up on that screen.
Um
So echo, like the word echo, space hello, greater than.
where'd my keyboard at here? Where's my greater than?
In the bottom row, shifted, I think. Like shift period or something.
Yep,
And
I
then
found it.
Okay,
VC
slash VC3. And then hit Alt F4.
I bet it doesn't like the slash.
Yeah.
It's
now
got the same bug that OS9 did where you have to hit enter on that screen
Yeah.
first for it to come through.
Now
So if you
I'm
hit
stuck.
Alt F4 to go to the last window, and then just hit the enter key by itself.
It worked.
Yeah, there's your hello. It showed up. So it's still got the blocking problem.
Okay, wonder if
But that
unlock-
hello came from your one window sent to the other window and it showed up.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? No, and then it unlocked me, so it's like it somehow locked
Yeah,
this.
it was locked. Yeah, you were
Yeah,
holding
it blocks.
because you had a command typed in that you never executed. All those eyes were just sitting there.
Right.
you'll
And it's
notice
waiting for
now
you to
if you go-
finish so you don't get confused and all of a sudden messages from other people or stuff on the system start showing up in the middle of your
sure.
screen.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
Nice find.
Okay, so your standard boot up file here boots up 4 virtual consoles. So the multitasking is working. It's just how do you run the MGR GUI?
Do an mfree real quick. I want to see how much it used to do this. Nothing.
Not much. Yeah, it's saying the shells are what, 25K or 32.25K, I guess.
It's going to get hard to be used to using an OS 9 amount of memory and megabytes worth of RAM. I just, we're using Coco scale amounts of RAM, but we have PC amounts of memory.
Since we changed the execution directory, if I type in mgr here, is it going to try to use the one that's in this partition or on this partition?
Maybe do dir of commands first. Is there an MGR program in there?
Yeah, right there.
Does PW or PXD work?
Yeah, type PXD just because I don't know which window we're on at the moment.
PX what? T?
D.
D.
Whoops.
Print execution directory. Nope, doesn't exist there.
Try dir commands. No, CMDS.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see what
Sorry.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Spelled it wrong. CMDS. Yeah. Is there an MGR or something like that in there? Oh, what is colors dot 306? I wonder.
This is too much fun, guys.
Well, isn't it?
Like OS 9, it's a lot of fun.
This is why we created EU, guys, so you don't have to figure out all this crap. Oh, you got VI and Emacs. Couple of text editors. I didn't see an MGR though.
No, but if I do a CD MGR here and do a dir, there is an MGR in here.
Do a dir space E.
So A meditation asks, is the AT306
Or dash E maybe.
system?
Dash E, yeah.
There weren't that many made, right?
Yeah, it's just a batch file.
That's awfully big for a batch file.
Something. Yeah.
186K. Oh, that's actually the tarball just renamed. Oh no, I guess it's a different size.
Oh, it's untarballed, but what is it? Okay.
You could try listing MGR, but I'm pretty sure that's not a batch file. It's probably a data file or something.
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do I get out of this now?
Whatever that abort key
Control
it said in
C?
the key doc.
Yeah.
Control E, try Control E. Well, change your
Now
prompt.
that we've wrecked the font and everything, we're doing great. That's why you
Well,
have more than one window.
There's obviously display codes in there because it's changing you to the upper bit character set.
So now if you do the Alt F2, will you be it fixed or is it or all the windows? Yeah, cool. So you haven't killed it all yet. You can kill it 3 more times.
Should I
Oh, James
reboot?
Jones has got a request. I don't know if you can see it there, Brian.
Probably not.
Okay, because go to another window that we can actually read. And then change to that second partition manager directory.
I'm already there, am I not? Yeah.
Do dir, let's see.
Yep.
Okay, change your directory to MGR. And he says type tar, T-A-R, space. TVF, T, V as in Victor, F. Space. MGR stuff dot tar. Oh yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks right. Oh, load font, bounce, a bouncing ball demo me. Sketch program.
Oh, and I bet that's that stupid eyes that follow your cursor.
That looks like graphical stuff to run
Yes,
with
it
source
is,
code.
isn't it? MGR eyes, like I said, that's got to be the X eyes that looked cross-eyed at your cursor so you could find it on a bad display. So yeah,
Yeah,
this is
select font utilities to change your fonts. I'm guessing that is. Or
all the widgets
clock.
that go with your GUI that we haven't found yet.
But it looks like those are not distracted unless those programs are in the commands directory already. Oh, James says, shucks, just clients, not the server.
Oh, oh right, he's questing MGR code. The server side.
Like, I wonder, this second partition had its own OS 9 boot. I wonder if it has these things preloaded, and the other one is more like a text console only thing that we're running off of right now.
Yeah, I haven't backed up this drive yet. I'm going to try to back it up, and then I'll be a little more free to want to start moving some stuff around.
I do know that James had mentioned, I think it's scrolled off now, but he'd mentioned that he's trying to get a hold of Frank Swire to get a copy of some of the documentation specifically for things. So.
Yep. Yeah, because I think if I type MGR from here, well, it's your I get the same result if I remember right.
Yeah, it should be like the executable MGR. It should be getting from the commands directory. So I don't know. I didn't see an MGR in the commands directory or not. Maybe you can do a dir, like do a change directory ... to go back up to the root, and then do dir command / mg star. No, you need slash after commands. No space. MG asterisk. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there's no MGR in there to run, so.
Yeah, and if I run MGR from here, from that, if I change directory and type in MGR, I don't know, is it? I guess the way OS 9, even if I'm in that MGR folder, if I type in MGR there, is it going to execute that one, or is it just?
It'll try to go the execution directory first to figure out if there's a program called MGR.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't find that, it'll go to the local data directory and see if there's a batch file that it can try to run.
Okay.
But from what James is saying, these are just client programs for MGR, but MGR itself's not there.
Okay. So anyway. So yeah.
At least we figure out how to switch windows.
Yeah. Yeah, Alt F keys then, so.
Which I think, if I remember correctly, Rick, you might remember, I think the M1 did that too, didn't it? Use Alt F1 through F10 or something, or F12 to do up to 12 windows?
I think Xenix did the same thing.
Well, is there anything else you guys want to see about this at all? Or I'll be showing this more here. I'm going to try to gather some information there. I know James and I have been kind of collaborating a little bit, so we'll be gathering more information as we go along on this one here. So this journey of discovery or rediscovery.
Yeah. So that special manual for the AT306, is it just microware stuff, or is there some additional stuff for the 306 specifically?
I haven't thumbed through it. It just says microware using OS 9 advanced system software. And this says go into using. It looks to be a microware manual because it even says copyright. And it's Microware Systems Corporation.
Like there's no addendum at the end or something that was specifically for the 306.
I'm looking at the back here. Looking in the index here. Nothing saying about 306.
Got a sticker on the cover.
Yeah, and actually the sticker is actually covering up something else that was there. I can't quite read what it is though. Looks like Mecon or M something RON. I can't quite make out what it's covering up. But yeah, this looks to be like a manual, and then Creator Electronics and Farness Systems put this little label over the front of the cover there, or on the
Fair
cover.
enough.
So.
Okay, we'll have to see if we can get some of the documentation that's 306 specific and MGR specific later, and then we can see if we can get the GUI running.
The one thing I did notice that was kind of interesting about this here. Let's see here. Let me do this real quick here. Here we are. There we go. You know, so like this manual and the front of the system and everything. There's no markings on this thing that says, you know, AT306 or anything like that. So, you know, if someone would have came across one of these over the years, it would look just like a PC, you know. And I could see how if there was any of these systems out there, how they could have been easily e-wasted, you know, and sent off to recyclers and stuff like that, because there's nothing that would indicate what this thing is. You know, and you look at it from the outside, you see a floppy drive, you look on the back, and there's, you know, ports and everything and stuff like that, COM ports and everything. It looks just like a PC.
Right, you see a really cheap AT and say, why would I want a really cheap AT?
Right. And so, yeah, so I mean, it's, I don't know how many of these systems were ever sold.
I don't think a ton.
Right. Yeah, because I think because this would have overlapped with the PC era coming into play, you know, and people moving over to the PC world and everything.
Yeah,
so.
and the MM1B, which would have been out by that same time.
Right.
And the System 5 probably.
So, but no, so, but thanks again, James here. We'll keep working on this, and we'll get this thing going, and I plan to take it, and like I do with a lot of the things, bring it to the fest and stuff like that for people to see, and try to post some more out on Facebook and everything and let people know.
Yeah, James just said in the chat here, sir, I almost recycled it myself.
So, very good.
Also, we got a thing from Quigon here. He said he's got one more item that came in the mail after the show started, so he's got one more thing to show to update.
There was, and hopefully, whoops, here, if I can switch back just one more second there. Sorry. Oh, there we are. So there was a little package of discs here, and I'm hoping that, and once I get my drive working, James pointed these out. There is some discs here, and so this says AT306 MGR on it.
Oh, in 1997, so that's a later version of it too.
Right, and so I have a couple. This one says just AT306 MGR. This one here says AT306 Route 1, Route 2. This says Extra 1 and Extra 2. So I'm kind of hoping that once I get my drive working, I'll take a look at these discs here and we'll see what's on there. So there may be some stuff on here that'll help us out as well. So
yeah, and if that date is accurate, that's like several years after the stuff you've got on the drive, right? The hard drive right now. So that might actually be a running copy of MGR or something.
So, but more to come.
Okay, so back to Quigon. What did you get in the mail today while we were talking?
Well, this is another Atari-related item that can be used to the adapter. At least part of it should be able to, because part of it's a joystick. As you see here, it's got the joystick here, but it's also got the paddle controller here. It's called the Ranger Stick. And that just came in the mail. I got the alert and I left the call for a second, went downstairs and got it. So you can actually get a, if you're using one of the Atari, you can actually get a little combiner to combine two of these into like a traditional paddle setup, but they also work like a joystick as well.
Okay. So instead of having to have two separate controllers, if you're switching between paddle and joystick games, you just have one and you just pick which one you're using.
And of course, it's 2600 base, so it's only got the one button. So it'd be more akin to like the Black Beauty as far as the joystick part.
Okay, cool. You'll have to let us know how that one works in some of the games.
Yep.
Okay, ready for our first break?
Sure.
Hello everyone, it's your good buddy, your good pal Amigo, and joined by that dastardly The Brent from ARG Presents.
You're watching CoCoNation.
I feel like that should have been longer.
The CoCoNation Show would like to thank the following patrons: AC's 8-Bit Zone, Alex Gayer, Alan Huffman, Boyzentech, Brendan Donahue, Brian Walsh, Brian Weasler, Kieran Ascom, Coconut Bob, Daddy Burrito, David Ladd, Derek Smithson, Diego BF109, Don Barber, Eric Canales, Frederick Segard, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Wabke, Grant Leedy, Henry Gernhardt, Henry Strickland, Jason Warnes, Jim Mullis, Jeffrey Drywater, Justin Larson, Ken Reichard, Patrick Euland, Paul Fuscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, R. Allen Murphy, Retro Tech Time, Richard Harding, Rob Inman, Rocky Hill, Steve Bateson, Tech Dungeon, Terry Trapp, TJB Chris, Tom C., Tom Gunderson, Tom S., and William A. Thing. Thank you so much, patrons. If you would like to support the CoCoNation show, sign up at patreon.thecoconation.com.
Hey everyone, I'm TJB Chris, and I'm watching the CoCoNation live show, and so are you. And probably shouldn't be pointing that thing at you. Enjoy!
Welcome to everybody's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord?
Coronian says, I'm David, got into retro computing after I bought a Mister, which led to me picking up a CRT, and looking into the old computers that I hadn't really seen much as a kid. Got started on C64S, picked one up, then another, then like 8 more, most of which needed repairs. And I'm currently waiting on a Coco 2 that will need repairs. Was hopping on here hoping to figure out where you can get one of the RF modulator replacement boards for composite. Justin W. says, hello everyone. My name is Justin and I'm located in Houston, Texas. I am relatively new to the Coco ecosystem as I just acquired my first Coco 3 during VCF Southwest last week. I am not new to the TRS line as a whole. Another machine in my collection is a Model 2 which I have been restoring as well as updating and work on it regularly. I am looking forward to using the Coco and excited to see what I can come up with to do with it. Rostamafug says, hello everyone, my name is Jason and I am in Prince Edward Island. My first computers were the MC10 and the Coco 2, on which I first learned to program. I have been collecting retro computers for a few years now and I own an MC10, as well as Coco 1, 2, and 3 machines. I'm working on getting a full MAME emulation setup for development so I can take my skills as a professional programmer and hopefully write my own software, fulfilling a childhood dream of mine. The previous bios were edited for time. Thanks to Boyzentech, Frederick Micro Hobbyist Sigard, Glenside Computer Club, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Tandy Color Computer 3, Wingnut 2626, and the CoCoNation patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. Just go to discord.thecoconation.com.
See you on Discord.
And we are back.
Woohoo!
That was Stevie on that last little bit.
Yep.
Beyond Discord.
Okay, so I think the next thing we'll cover here, and Mark Bolsey was actually there, so I think I'll let him kind of describe it a bit, but VCF Southwest was last week in Texas at the exact same time as, what is the name of the one in Georgia? Atlanta? VCF?
Southeast?
Yeah, I might be it, because they're on the same weekend, which was odd to me. Why would you split where people are going to go for retro? I did hear that VCF Southwest had an attendance. They're estimating around 1,800 people, which is a pretty decent size. I don't think it's quite VCF Midwest numbers, but it's definitely higher than some of the other ones I've seen. Does that sound like an accurate number to you over the 2 days, Mark?
Yeah, I had heard they had 1,500 badges and they ran out on Saturday.
Okay. So the 1,800, it probably is accurate then.
Yeah, somewhere close to that. I know it was pretty packed. I don't know if you saw from the when I was doing the broadcast, it was pretty much standing room only. You know, had to kind of push through to get to see everything during that time.
Yeah. Did you manage to catch any of the seminars?
No, I didn't.
Okay, because I will mention they've posted pretty well all of them. I was surprised how quickly they went up. Which I can show in a little bit here. Did you have any favorite things that you saw though, like aside from touring us around and trying to get through a wall of people?
It was just the whole thing in general. There wasn't a whole lot of Coco stuff there, but I spent a lot of time feeding the free table. So had things to give
And
away.
you were there last year too, correct?
Yeah.
How would you compare this year's show with last year's?
Definitely bigger. They had a lot more tables. More area was filled in with tables than it was last year. So, yeah, I mean, I only managed to pick up a couple of VGA cards for the Isobus because I was looking for those for a 3 to 6 SX build I'm doing.
Okay.
But yeah, got rid of a lot of hard drives and stuff that I was needing to clear out.
Oh, you actually sold stuff at the show? On the
No,
table?
it's all free table stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I did bring I don't know if any of you guys ever saw it, but I had a compact Presario 1600 server, and so they accepted it for the auction, and it sold for $130.
Oh, good.
So thought that was pretty nice.
I will mention that Peter Will in the chat just mentioned the VCF Southeast timing is based on the Coin-Op Game Festival schedule, so it's kind of tied to a different show. So that might be why they just happen to fall in the same weekend, but hopefully they can differentiate it somewhat, because I know a lot of presenters would have liked to have gone to both if they were not the same weekend and across the country from each other. Well, I guess that's not quite across country, but still a fair ways.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'm going to show some pictures from the show. Okay. Do you have any pictures you took yourself, Mark, or just the video live stream we did?
Just the live stream. Actually, I didn't end up taking any pictures for some reason.
Okay, so this is from the Tandy Showcase page on Facebook. And I'll just read the little blurb that they put up here, and we'll go through the pictures one by one. We were honored to have several Tandy alumni join us today at the Vintage Computer Festival Southwest. Joe Sigler, Mark Siegel, Gordon Thompson, Lou Crawford, Jerry Heap, Wes Stewart, and Bill Hall all came by to greet and catch up with each other, interact with the attendees who wanted to learn more about the stories behind Tandy and Radio Shack. Nikki Heap and Jeannie Randall also came by. They created the application to automate the Tandy center lights, which you can see in the background. I'll zoom the picture up in a moment here. This collection of folks getting together was truly the most meaningful part of the day for us. It was a long day, but very rewarding. Special thanks to Joe Sigler, who helped with the exhibit from open to close today. It was a great day and may lead to a few exciting opportunities for the Tandy Showcase in the coming year. We have one more event day tomorrow. This obviously was done on Saturday. If anyone wants to stop by, details at vcfsouthwest.org. So here's Jerry and Nikki Heap with the Tandy Center Lights exhibit, and Nikki is the one that actually programmed the lights. And this is something they were hitting, I think, at last year's one, but it wasn't ready, if I remember. Is that correct, Mark, or do you know anything about that?
It was on display last year, and I think they were like just finishing building it and getting the bugs worked out of it.
Okay, so this year just ran smoothly on its own, I'm gathering?
Yeah, I guess so, because last year they were just getting it together, but it was on display last year.
Okay. There's Jerry with his first U.S. patent awarded through Tandy for circuit design in the Terracity Modem 1. And he donated the original award certificate to the Tandy Showcase. So that's the real thing, not a copy of it. There's Dr. Boise Pete. I'll have to get used to saying that. Respected author, historian, enthusiast for Terracity color computer. Of course, he wrote the Coco history book along with Bill Laguidis. He catches up with Jerry and Nick after many years. And I know he talked to Jerry back when he was doing the research on the book itself. So, and that would have been what, 93 or not 90, 2013 or something like that. So it's been a while. A common question here today. Radio Shack sold guitars. Yes, they did in the late 1960s. And you can see a couple of them there. And we actually got to see the catalog. And they're basically clones of like Rickenbacker, like the bass you can see there, and it's kind of a Gibson style there. But yeah, I didn't know that either. That's
Probably
before my time.
rebranded.
What's that?
probably rebranded.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
they
you'd
were.
expect. They're very nice Beatles era guitars. We got Paul's bass and
Yeah,
George's-
Hoffner stuff.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, not Rickenbacker, sorry, Hoffner.
Hoffner.
What I
yeah.
meant. Yeah.
I've
There's
got
a
the
bust of
Epiphone
Charles
version.
Tandy too. Sorry, go ahead.
So I have an Epiphone version of that bass.
There's Jeannie Randall and Nikki Heap share details about the Tandy light control. So they're kind of going, you can see the light control in the back there. And now it's saying Radio Shack. Attendees check out some of the collection. So they had a whole bunch of stuff that Tandy had. You can see like a paddle Pong style game controller up here. You can see a Coco 1 down over here and a blue Videotex terminal. You can see a Model 100.
Agvision.
Yeah, that was the branded Videotex one, right? Agvision was, I'm trying to remember how that worked now.
The Agvision, Brian, fill us in. Agvision was the blue one, was it not?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the project,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yeah, the Agvision was the first. But I don't know if they did the Agvision, then they did the video text, or I can't remember who came first. But I think the Agvision came first, and then they did the video text.
Right, because there was all that hoo-hoo about the government and agriculture and all partnering together, and I think Videotex was just a spin-off.
Yeah, because I remember the Agvision only had 200 made or something like that. It was kind of like a test pilot program for it. They sent it to like Kentucky and a few states around there for testing.
Yep.
Our old friend Suju, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, stops by to say hello. I'm assuming he's the guy who's waving. Ginny, Nikki, Jerry, and Joe share some memories. They're just kind of hanging out. Nikki's demonstrating the tower lights again, explaining to some attendees. Several generations represented here. Okay, well, when we get into the VCF presentations that were done, that the videos are up for now, that'll definitely be tied in with one of the presentations that I thought was really cool.
The on that picture there, I believe, right behind the girl, I believe that's that micro sep or whatever, that version that was made for that Spanish version of the Coco 3 that was modified. Wasn't it called the micro sep or something? If I remember right.
Yeah.
Tandy, the Tandy Museum. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank here. Oh gosh, why can't I think of his name here? I'm sorry. Oh, Roger Taylor. He had one of those and he put it up for sale. And
okay.
Tandy Museum bought it. I think that might be the microsep. I think I saw it, Mark, when you were walking around. I think that was the one.
Okay, yeah, I did do a close up on that one.
Yep. So he has quite a nice display of Coco.
I like the fact the young girl here is trying to learn how an old-fashioned telephone works because they've probably never seen one before.
Right.
And those are Radio Shack sneakers back there.
Oh yeah, I forgot they had that branding, didn't they?
Like too close, too close.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was going to keep the zoom on the next picture. This one's an attendee proudly setting a new high score on the video information system. Which I'm not quite sure what that is. Any idea, Mark?
No.
Okay. There's a link. You can get some more information on it, but I won't do that right now. Steady group of visitors from the 9 a.m. opening to the 6:30 p.m. closing, and as Mark mentioned, it was pretty busy. And here, Jerry deploys a firmware upgrade to the Tandy Center Lights exhibit during the show. We'll share more details in a future post. And here's Tandy alumni Joe Sigler and Lou Crawford. Here they say the future meets the past. I didn't know they made Radio Shack, what is that, a judo outfit or something?
I think they're called geese.
I didn't even see that there. Must have showed up later.
Here's several hundred folks stopped by today. This is on June 21st to learn about the company and see some interesting memorabilia. And you kind of get a more wide shot of some of the stuff that's there. And is that Mark? in the background. I'm not sure if it is or not. Yeah, that's Mark Siegel. Isn't it?
Yeah, that's Mark.
Yep.
Gotta remember to zoom out this time. Another person going for a new high score in the VIS. That must have been a video game console that Tandy sold, different than, say, the Tandyvision or something.
It was a weird CD over TV thing. I just kind of Googled it.
Here's Joe Siegler and Mark Siegel sharing stories. Mark, was Mark Siegel there both days or just one of them?
I think just Saturday.
Okay. I think it's what he did last year too. And we're back to the beginning. So anyway, that gives you a couple of photos from the Tandy booth specifically to kind of show what was there and some of the attendees as well. Now, you notice there they had a couple of pictures actually with some pretty young people attending these. And if you go to the VCF Southwest, they've got all of the seminars now posted on video format. I've watched a few of them already myself, but I haven't finished them all. FujiNet State of the Union definitely applies to Coco. Thomas did talk about some of the stuff that the Coco people have been doing. He congratulated the Coco community on kind of coming together to help push the Coco software forward on it. I think a little bit more than some of the other computers. He's been trying to rally the troops to get people to help contribute writing software, et cetera, for FujiNet, both on existing platforms and on newer platforms. Are trying to get onto the whole system, and he's been having some issues getting people interested enough to actually do that kind of thing. So this is kind of a public service for him too, to anybody that knows how to do some programming. If you want to just do testing, et cetera, too, there's definitely some stuff. He's got a page now, I think, for how you can help, which covers the gamut from being a hardware designer to a system designer to a programmer to a tester, et cetera. This is one of the ones I really found interesting, though, and this was why should kids be involved? And it's a 12-year-old that actually does the entire presentation herself, and goes through some really old retro stuff and then gets into a bit more modern retro stuff and kind of explains why she thinks that younger people should be paying attention to this vintage stuff. There's mentions of Oregon Trail and stuff, which I didn't even know was still being taught in schools at this point. So that's good, because that's something we've discussed here. We have to bring new blood into the retro hobby, or eventually it's just going to die out with the rest of us graybeards. I'm looking at you, Rick. So that was a good presentation to see. And if you guys have not checked out any of these yet, because he just got released a couple of days ago, I definitely would check that. And then there's some other interesting ones too, like Basic, the first 10 years, that doesn't specifically apply to the Coco, but it does go into Basic between the 60s to the mid 70s. And how it evolved during that time, and eventually that became Microsoft got involved in the mid 70s, and eventually Microsoft Basic that we have in the Coco kind of came from that. So you want the prehistory of that, kind of watch that one. Boise did one here, which is basically, he called it 8-bit brain surgery. And what he did is he's transplanted a 6809 into an Atari, was an XGS, I believe. I was hoping Sloopy'd be here. He's the Atari whiz. But he involves writing new ROMs, and he's got an Osline bootloader on the ROM. Yeah, XEGS. I just found my note. But eventually he's got it up running Osline level 1, but he kind of explains what types of things are different between a 6502, which is the original CPU, and the 6809, and how you kind of work around them, because certain things there's a lot that's fairly the same, like a lot of the address lines and data lines and halt lines and all that kind of stuff is basically similar enough. You just make sure it's pointing to the right pin. But there's some other stuff that's done a little bit differently between the two, and you have to kind of take that into consideration. So that's an interesting project. And it kind of follows up on his, he did an older Atari 8-bit machine that he did this on too, but pretty interesting talk, I thought. Rs32, then and now, haven't had a chance to watch that one yet. I'm sure David Ladd will. System 80 Terra City clone and the Japanese Model 1. This is kind of covering the Dick Smith, which was then rebranded when it came across to being sold in the States. I think that was the PNW or something like that. Nick Morenz would be able to help with that kind of stuff, because he's familiar with those, because they were made in Australia. This one I haven't watched yet, but I'm interested in Reviving Computer's Gazette magazine after 35 years. Now, for those of you who were around, Compute was a magazine that was cross-platform, including some Coco stuff, back in the 80s. And then there was Compute Gazette, kind of a sister publication. And he kind of explains, what the original Compute and Compute Gazette was like, and then, relaunching a new version of it, why he picked the Gazette format versus the regular Compute, because there were two magazines done by the same people. and he figures the way things are being done, it more matched the Gazette style. But I'm guessing he's going to be looking for some, you know, Coco programming stuff too, because this is for retro computers. And we did have Coco stuff in it back in the day, so it'd be nice to get some more. I think, like, back in the day, I know they were pleading for people to do Tier City Color Computer programming. They didn't have a lot of people doing it. But I think that was because we had so many Coco dedicated magazines. Like, did we really want to go out and subscribe to a magazine that's like 2 programs for the Coco a month versus, you know, Rainbow or Hot Coco that, you know, dozens? So, but since this is actually being an actual full-blown magazine, I think it'd be nice, because they used to publish, you know, a program for like 5 platforms. Here's a source for an Atari 8-bit, an Apple II, a Terra City Model 1, a Coco, and a Spectrum or something like that. So you can kind of see how things were done. And one thing I did not like about Compute back in the day is that they almost always made their programs exclusively for Color Basic, no Extended Basic. And for those of you who've done any graphics programming and stuff, Extended Basic on the Coco is actually light years ahead of a lot of these other 8-bits. And yet they wouldn't use that programming. They would just, you know, do set reset on low res. Like, I'm sorry, that's not how to show a Coco off. A brief history of Japanese PCs. This was actually a very interesting one, because he's going through a whole bunch of stuff in the mid 70s up through the mid to late 80s. But he covers some of the OS9 machines, like Fujitsu. He covers the FM7, the FM8, the FM11. These are like the dual CPU, 2 6809s. One did graphics, one did the main stuff, OS9 with an MMU, so, you know, full-blown kind of multitasking with the actual background graphics processor. So he goes into, you know, kind of the designs of those. He mentions OS9 in them, of course, so that definitely piqued my fancy. Definitely an interesting one. It covers a whole bunch like Sanyo PCs and a bunch of others. There's even some other ones that use VDG chips in there too, so there's some cross-referencing to Coco type stuff there as well. My 2 years with Clippy, I haven't watched that. I don't think I could stand being with Clippy more than 2 minutes, so maybe that's why. Vintage Computing Experience is an autobiographical memory. I haven't seen that one yet. TMS 9900 and TI 99 home computers involving Dr. I can't remember his name, Ott, I think, but he was actually one of the main designers for that. So if you're into TI 99s, there's some history there from one of the guys that helped make it for TI. TMS 9918, the very first sprite chip. There's one on there. And then a chat on it. RLLing on a river of bits, data recovery or bust. So that's recovering data from hard drives. I'm guessing I haven't had a chance to watch that one yet either. Then they had a 1970s computer panel where they had like Usagi Electric. Ray Machetti is one of the organizers. Dr. Ott, who did the TI. And Mike Douglas, and like he was involved with stuff in the 70s too, like actively involved with it. So there's a lot of good history in there if you're into just, you know, how the whole computer revolution kind of started, you know, progressing from minis. And yeah, there's other ones too. I'm not going to go through them all now, but there's quite a bit of, if you're just generally interested in the history of home computers and retro computers of all sorts, watch them all. There's a lot of good stuff on there. And if you're into Coco and 6809 and OS9 stuff, there's definitely 4 or 5 that I think would definitely tickle your fancy. And the one with the 12-year-old doing the presentation and why younger kids should be working and exploring retro computers and retro video game consoles. I thought that was really interesting, and we definitely need that type of attitude to get the younger people in to continue the hobby. Anyway, there's a lot of good stuff there. I definitely go check it out. And that's basically all I've got for the VCF Southwest Roundup. I don't have any Roundup for the VCF Southeast because I don't know too much about it. And I didn't see too many posts, at least where I normally frequent. I did see a mention, as we mentioned before, it's kind of tied in with another show. But Pete Willard also said being merged with the Coin Up show. So VCF Southeast is planning on being merged to the Coin Up Game Festival. Interest fee for both will be $50, which is a little higher than I'd like to see it. But if it's, you know, 2 big shows merged, maybe that makes sense. I don't know. I guess we're spoiled with Midwest where it's free. Anyway, let's continue on. So I will switch over to Dragon News first. And the first one, sorry?
Ready to run your intro?
If you must.
I must.
When you want the latest in TRS-80, Tandy, Dragon, MC-10, and all of their hardware cousins, no matter what it takes. or where news breaks. From around the world to your nation. The CoCoNation News with L Curtis Boyle.
Let the dumpster fire commence. James Jones just put in, he said VIS was Tandy's answer to CDI, CD Interactive. So somebody had mentioned before that they thought the VIS was like, games over a CD. That does sound correct.
I saw on their little Google page, it's meant virtually impossible to sell. Which may be why we never heard of it.
That's good. I like that. That pretty well describes a lot of the Coco 4s too. At any rate, Dragon actually had a couple of videos, fairly long videos on YouTube this week, which was kind of surprising, and in alternate languages too. So this first one is from a YouTube channel called EO Retro, and it's in German, and it's a half-an-hour overview of the Dragon 32, which if you turn on auto-translate stuff, you get a pretty good rough idea. Now, the one thing I don't know is how accurate is Google Translate, because there's definitely some things in there that are wrong, but that could be a mistranslation trying to interpret, the guy's voice, because he speaks pretty quick in certain spots here. So I did see he was kind of getting lost in translation. Haha. Like they mentioned one thing, he thought the combined sales of the Dragon 32 and the 64 was 40,000 units. And I know the Dragon 32 alone sold like 200,000. So, that's obviously wrong. Now, 40,000 sounds about right for the 64 by itself. Kieran, you might be able to correct me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the numbers we've seen from tracking serial numbers, etc. But he goes through and it's a pretty good overview. Like I said, there might be some mistakes in here. I saw some stuff that was a little bit off and like describing how the graphics modes and stuff work. But other than that, it's a pretty good review. And I mean, obviously he's not too familiar with it. His Dragon 32 is a little bit yellowed, as you can see there. And he kind of goes through and shows the insides and etc. But if you're German, I mean, definitely watch it in without auto translate, and let me know if the translations are off or if it was just a few mistakes, because it's a machine. I believe it was sold in Germany. I think even Coco 1s and 2s were sold in Germany at this time in the early 80s. Not with huge numbers, because there was a lot of import tariffs and taxes and stuff at the time. But pretty good overview, I thought. Next up, STEW does part 3 of his early Dragon 32, and you can see his is in much better shape. It's an almost white case. It's nice, clean looking. And this one here, we've covered his first 2 episodes. This was he was trying to fix it up. He's done some recapping. This is one we also showed last time. The serial number on the bottom case is completely different than the serial number on the motherboard, so it's not the one that came with the box. One was a really low number, like 1,000 something. The other one was quite high. But he's got it working, and it actually turns out I think it was something like the CPU was loose or had some dirt in the socket, so it wasn't connecting the pin properly all the time. So once he kind of cleaned that up, it worked fine. So glad to hear he got it working. Another one is KOJRO Retro Innovations. No relation to Jim as far as I know. But their channel on YouTube did a video called Long Overdue Packages Accumulated in My Shed. This kind of sounds like Quigon type thing there. You have to go to the shed as well. So it's kind of an unboxing style video. And amongst the machines he got when he went to his shed and started pulling them all apart and putting them in, was a Dragon 32. And he pointed out in the video, and this is I found kind of interesting, and you guys that watch Adrian Black might know better than I. Has he reviewed the Dragon 32 on his show already? Ken, if I think you follow him, maybe some of the other ones on the panel do as well. Because anyway, he mentions that he had a Dragon 32 previously, but he donated it to Adrian Black for his channel, and this is a replacement one he got a little bit later on. Like just a little clip, because he just covers a bunch of stuff. He's got printers and stuff that came in too, but and I think he's in Europe. I'm not sure. Oh, that's for a bit here. That's what I was wondering if any of you guys had known if he did one and he just missed it or not. But he basically just kind of goes through like what comes with the dragon, doesn't fire up or anything. This is more of an unboxing style video. But I'm hoping that means that if Adrian has not done a Dragon 32 video, I hope he does one. It'd be interesting to see what he thinks of it.
Well, Adrian has a lot of videos.
True, but from the sounds of it, he sent it to Adrian not so long ago, like within the last year, so it'd be one of the more recent ones. It wouldn't be older than that. He's also got more than one channel now too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got two. And one channel is pretty much dedicated to the mail call.
Mm.
So, and he could be several weeks, months behind on his unboxings.
Okay. Tom Eric Edison mentioned the guy is in Norway. That's where he is. And Julian Brown mentions Adrian got his Dragon about the time I finished the Dragon 32 board reproduction. Offered him one to try, but he isn't so much into building as much as he's into fixing. Okay. And next after that, speaking of Julian Brown, he says, no more excuses. I've got to get on with this now. Step one is to populate the data buffer and CPLD, a few capacitors, and then I can start testing the digital RGB lines. And I think this is his proto VDG for his Dragon ATX project, which is the one that's going to have slots. You can plug in all the different IO cards, so you can like put in serial ports if you want, or you can skip them if you don't want them, etc. And this is the one for the VDG board, or basically simulating the VDG with the CPLD. So basically similar to what the Coco VGA or the Coco DV style stuff does. And I know you'll be a bit behind from what we're viewing here on the Zoom call, Julian, but if you have any other updates or specifics you want to mention about this particular part of your Dragon ATX project, just put them in the chat and I'll read them out. Okay, onward to general Coco 1, 2, 3 and multi-platform stuff. Brian Coburn, or Cockburn, I'm not sure, I presume it's Coburn, posted a PDF version of the first review of the Flex operating system ever done, and this is for the original Flex for the 6800 chip from 1978 Kilobaud magazine. Kilobaud magazine was one started by Wayne Green, actually. I think even before he did Byte, if I remember correctly. But basically, yeah, this is when the 6800 was just starting to get popular. And a previous person that posted in the Flex group on Facebook about this article, but using a kind of a weird format. So this got converted to PDF so you can download and take a look at it. It was very interesting to review of, the Flex operating system, how it was kind of the 6800's version of CPM. And then it later, of course, expanded to 6809 a year or two later when that chip came out and was the most popular alternate OS or business OS for the Coco until OS 9 level 1, then level 2 came out. I would say level 1 and Flex were somewhat comparable in some ways. Flex gave you a little bit more space for your programs, I think, than OS 9 did. So if you wanted to write something big and complicated, you could do more so under Flex. And then once level 2 came out, Flex kind of died pretty quick. There was a multi-user, multitasking version of Flex called Uniflex, which I do remember seeing ads from Frank Hogg, but I don't know if that ever got released. I've never seen it, and I don't remember seeing it at shows. So that might have been, something that was planned on, but maybe never got released for the Coco anyway. I know it was released for some other systems. But if you want to download that, it's quite an interesting review. Next up, Joel Evie in the MM1 group on Facebook. That's one of the machines we'll be showing off. In fact, Joel's got his MM1 up and running, so when we do our special Coco 4 episode, he'll be one of the guests. But he posted the procedure uncuts, originally done by Tim Kuntz back in 88 and 89. He'd originally done an RS-DOS version, and then he did a Basic 9 version here, which ran under OS 9, or it would run under OS K. So it actually runs on the MM1 as well. It should be able to run the AT306, actually, as long as Basic 09 is included. And CUTS was a file format that was meant to transfer binary files through mail systems that only accepted 7-bit ASCII text and also fixed line links. So it had some special remapping of characters and stuff. So you could send it would look like these fixed length ASCII text records. and you ran it through the cuts and to encode it, and then uncuts to basically take it back and return it to being a binary. But that way you could transfer files like actual executable files or graphic images or whatever else through a system that was never designed to do high bit characters at all. So that was I do remember using this a bit at the university. Here, probably about 89. There was a C version of the uncuts and stuff too that was a bit faster. So I think I used that, not the basic one. But how many here remember cuts stuff back in the day? Anybody?
Just vaguely. It was back in the CompuServe era, but
yeah. Anyway, if you want to see it, the entire Basic 9 source code is there, so you can actually just cut and paste it out and have at her. And he actually showed, like, somebody had put up a Bill the Cat GIF graphic in cuts format, and he tested the program and it works. So you can kind of see Bill the Cat, for those of you familiar with the Bloom County comic strip. Picture's a little bit blurry here, but you can definitely see
distorted, but he's not.
Yeah. He's like the anti-Garfield type thing. So that was kind of cool. He found that and posted it up. And there's some other cuts related stuff we'll be covering a little bit later. This was a cool one. I wasn't expecting this. So there's a YouTube channel called The Total Recall Show. And the title of the episode here is I Got My Computer at Radio Shack, a trip back to the Dungeons of Daggorath. So it's a review of Dungeons and Daggorath by an actual author that had a Coco back in the day. And he talks about Ready Player One and how the book version used Dungeons of Daggorath quite a bit and how the movie didn't touch it at all, which was, I think, a big sin. I won't play the whole thing because it's just about half an hour long, but I do want to play a little bit so you can kind of get the idea of who these people are that are doing the review. The person on the right is the guy who had a Coco back in the day, and he was terrible at Dungeons of Daggorath back then, and he kind of got the, from reading a few places recently about it again, he got the urge to go grab it and download it in an emulator, and then he's been playing it. He's actually gotten like down to level 3 and stuff. He's doing the best he's ever done. He's just loving the game. And they talk about how advanced Dungeons of Daggorath compared to other RPGs at the time, with the sound effects and the spatialness of the sound effects getting louder as a creature's closer to you and quieter the further it got away, etc. So I'll play a little clip at the beginning just to get a feel for it, but I would definitely, if you're into Dungeons of Daggorath at all, I would definitely go check out this video.
We don't hear
anything. I'm also a comics fan, so hearing this guy's a comics writer, that's awesome.
No, we don't hear anything.
Oh, did I forget to share the sound? I probably did. Let me stop and start that over.
And everyone else is asleep.
I didn't check it. Yeah, nobody else cared or noticed it.
I'm Tom Scholey, author of Space Opera Xanadax Across the Unknown Dimensions of the Galaxy, a new creator-owned graphic novel coming in August from Image Comics. I just finished uploading the last file. The book's getting put together. It's going to be coming out soon. I'm also the author of Godzilla's Monster Piece Theater, coming in July in a new trade paperback edition. And it's been recently announced I'm doing a Twilight Zone comic for IDW, writing, drawing, lettering, the normal, the same deal as usual, except this one will be in black and white. It'll, instead of color, to sort of mimic that Twilight Zone look. I'll be at, and you'll be there too. We're going
That's enough for advertising and stuff here. I'm a comic fan, so I thought I'd let that part go.
Convention. So look, Daggorath, just so you can get a sense of it.
The sound was really cool. I had never played it before.
Okay.
I like how you enter
on
the
shaky
commands
cam
to move your character, and that the heartbeat is like your life. It wasn't very good at it.
Just to give you a sense of it.
It looks great.
Yeah, it's pretty tense too.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Like it's scary. Like
the heartbeat.
I saw in the instructions, you don't have to type out the full words.
Yeah, you do abbreviations.
What an iconic image.
Yeah. Okay, so my heart's going like crazy.
Gosh.
So I gotta like get away from that guy, let my heart recharge a little, like slow it down a little.
Oh man.
Let me get away from this guy. This guy's gonna kill me.
Anyway, he goes to playthrough. He talks about the fact, the torches dim as time goes on, so it's real time on top of it. Just so far ahead of its time, honestly, and they kind of agree on it. The first guy there on the left of when they did the intro has never played it before, never had a Coco back in the day, and the other guy had a Coco too and quite loved the game. But it was nice to see a perspective of somebody in modern times seeing it for the first time, but knowing what was available back in 82, 83 when Dungeons & Dragons was released and realizing how advanced this was. Like, if you want a killer app on the Coco, Dungeons & Dragons, I think, is one of the ones that's probably the best qualified. I mean, we have some others like really good clones like Donkey King, which you actually mentioned during the video, but that's a clone. I mean, you're not doing anything original there. You're just doing a really good version of an arcade game, whereas Dungeons & Dragons is unique to the Coco. Well, I guess there's PC ports and stuff now, but it's unique and also far advanced for the time. So it's kind of hitting on all cylinders type thing. So I would definitely recommend it. It's a good video, and coming from an author that grew up with the Coco and knows the Ready Player One story too. I also want to do a quick update. Julian Brown mentioned in the chat here that his VDG board that we talked about a little bit earlier is going to be a total replacement for the original VDG rather than an adapter for it. He said it would be working now if I hadn't run out of PLCC sockets. Next up, after a long time of hearing about this, there was the famous, I don't know what you want to call it, Phantasm, which is spelt wrong in the archive, but I think Weem is actually going to be fixing this. But Phantasm was an assembler done by Roland Knight and Dave Schuchen for DICOM, and it was designed for a 512K Coco 3. So it's a 609 editor assembler, runs in 80 columns, but it's supposed to be the fastest native assembler on the Coco by at least a factor of 2. So if you have like patched EdTASM or diskette TASM itself, or even the Microworks stuff, this was supposed to be much faster. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the directions for it yet, but the programs aren't that big actually. So maybe we'll get somebody to do some disassembly and kind of document everything. But this was actually by one of the people that's actually guested on our show a few times, but the author of the Contras, because after DICOM left the Coco market, they gave Phantasm to Glen Dahlgren of Sundog Systems, and they used it for all their internal stuff. And it was kind of their secret sauce for being able to, assemble a lot faster than anybody else was doing at the time, so they can actually keep cranking stuff out. But Doug Maston, who we've had on the show before, and we've seen him at Coco Fests, the author of the Contras actually got a copy of it too, and that's what he wrote the Contras in. And he's had the assembler here. Now, when we had Glenn and Dave both on before, who've said, yeah, we're fine with it going out there into the public, but no, they didn't have copies of it anymore. And Doug found his, and he's uploaded to the archive. You can now go get it. I don't know if the typing correction where he's calling it Fastasm with PHAST has been fixed yet, but if you look for Fastasm and you don't find it, just use Phantasm, and you can give it a shot. And if anybody wants to quickly disassemble it and figure out the commands and stuff, I know there's a main program, and then there's also the editor and the assemblers, 2 separate programs on top of that. I think the main one kind of ties together and lets you switch between, but they're pretty small, like 2 granules or 3 granules, I think, a piece. So on a 512K machine, you should have like lots of room. I'd be interesting to see if Nick pops in, if we get the documentation how to actually run it, if he wants to try it. Now, I won't have 609 commands at this point, so if somebody does disassemble, we should probably add those in later on. But I'd be interested to see how it compares with Robert Galt's patched EdTASM. But it's nice because we've been hearing about this assembler for years, if not decades, and it was thought originally to be like a ghost story, like it wasn't really real, but it is, and it's up there. You can finally get it on the archive. So big thanks to Doug Maston for finding that and making the zip file and setting it up. Next up, Terry Trapp, the person that's creating both the Coco Blender hardware add-on for the Coco 3 and is also running the RIB system that's online. You can actually hit with a telnet. But he's having some issues here lately, just some bad luck, and also he's been fixing some bugs. So he did an update to kind of let people know where everything's at. So he gives you the telnet address for his RIBS BBS system, which is ribs.griswoldfx.com on port 6809. And the update, it says that after several days of flaky internet, so yeah, his internet locally went down completely, and I think he's in a rural area, so he didn't really have access or kept kicking on and off. But he says it appears that the BBS is stable, so the BBS should be the internet connection is stable, so the BBS should be stable again now. And he said there's also several fixes and new features that I've made for the Coco Blender. He found a problem with the SPI code in his Ethernet driver that would not allow him to share the WizNet with multiple CPU cores. He's fixed that. He's added code to update the real-time clock via NTP every 9 hours and 6 minutes, which he apparently says is some sort of standard that some other operating systems, modern ones, use. I don't. That seems like an odd time to do that, but added a busy response when a second caller attempts to access the BBS, because I've had that where somebody's on and then it just doesn't let you do anything. Now, technically, you could set up, because we're multitasking, if you had a couple of Blender ports to go through, you should be able to actually have multiple people log, but that would take a fair bit more setup. Added an AT command to manually initiate the NTP sync if you want to force sync the clock without waiting the time allotted. Updated ATI command to provide more information about the status of the Blender. Updated timeout code to allow configuration from the AT command. And this was basically to force hangups, because he was finding that some people, if they just hung up on the board, sometimes it would catch it, sometimes it wouldn't. And if it didn't catch it, it would stay in a state where nothing's going to work unless you did something on the host Coco side. And that's why sometimes it would connect, but it would do nothing. And he says, making progress on the PCB layout for the Blender, probably going to go with more expensive P2 Edge form factor as a prototype. And the Coco Blender has more than just the Ethernet stuff. It's also got, I believe, a SID chip emulator, maybe two of them, I can't remember, and some other hardware features as well. We've had him on the show to talk about that as well. Next up after that, Andrew Ayers, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, so my apologies. But he uploaded multiple things to the Coco Facebook book this week. So the first one, he says, another interesting file, though mainly oriented to the Dragon 3064, some files have references to the Coco 1 and 2. He says, probably nothing new in here, but who knows how accurate. So I downloaded his little zip file, and I set up the files here. There's actually HTML pages for all this, so you can click on index.htm, and then it gives you a list of what's in here. So you can see that these are basically text file references of stuff like basic storage format, basic tokens, and it actually shows you which tokens for each keyword the Dragon has and the Coco, because they're different, kind of like the MC10. Dragon DOS binary format, so that's how the format of the disks are done with Dragon DOS. Dragon 64 differences compared to the 32, Coco basic tokens, added Dragon DOS basic tokens, Dragon DOS information, detailed memory map of both, OS 9 disk format, basic ROM reference, Tandy Coco 2 RSDOS disk format, undocumented 6809 opcode. So there's actually a fair bit of interesting stuff in here, and definitely some good references between the Coco and the Dragon. So if you download this particular zip here, just double click on the index.htm with your browser, and you should be able to actually go through and view them. I'll just see if I pick one as an example here. Dragon DOS. Oop, I think it's not going to find the local. I think I was using a different browser. It was a bit smarter, but anyway, you can go grab that off the Coco group on Facebook. Then Andrew also uploaded another one here, and this is one I've actually played. Unfortunately, what format he used here I'm not familiar with, but it's kind of weird, so I would just go get it off the archive if you can. But basically, it's a space truck game written by Jake Commander in the 3rd issue of Color Computer magazine from 1983, and it's the standard PC Star Trek game done in semi-graphics, so it's got color and it's got a nice little view screen. And the one thing I liked about it is actually it did background sound effects. Like in the Enterprise, if you watch the original series here, you'll get those kind of sound effects in the background if nobody's talking, like the Enterprise background beeps and boops and stuff here. And they tried to kind of simulate that with a play command, waiting with an in key. So once you hit a key, the sound stops and you actually enter your command, but it actually does some stuff ambient in the background while you're playing. And that's, I think, one of the very few basic versions I've seen that Coco actually did that. Here's a picture of the cover of that particular one. And of course, they had to call it Space Trek because by this time, Paramount was actually getting litigious about people using Star Trek, whereas in the late 70s, they really didn't care. It's actually it's a pretty decent version of it. I quite like this one. I played this one quite a bit myself when I was young, and I actually typed the damn thing in. So this will save you some time. And then another one, the cuts package. So we were just talking about cuts and how to transfer binary files over a 7-bit ASCII email system. And this is the full package that does the encoding and the decoding. And I think this version was written in C, if I remember correctly. And you will occasionally see cuts files on some of the old archives and stuff that you might be able to find. And if you haven't figured out how to open them, well, here's the utilities to do it. And there was a version of the utilities here for both Disk Basic and for OS9. I never used it in Disk Basic. In fact, I didn't know that existed until this week. But I've definitely used the OS9 ones back in the day. So you can download that as well. Hopefully he's uploading these to the Color Computer Archive as well, not just Facebook, because some people don't use Facebook. And then if you remember that Bill the Cat that we showed that Joel Evie ran his cuts program through to see what it looked like. If you want to download that and test cuts yourself, you can compare it with Joel's. Here's the actual Mac Paint. So sorry, it was Mac Paint, not GIF. A picture of Bill the Cat. And then you just run it through one of the Mac viewers. And we have Mac viewers for the Coco 1 and 2, the Coco 3, all in Disk Basic, plus ones in OS9. There's multiple ones that view that. The projector by Roger Taylor will view these. But you can actually test the Uncuts program, run it through on this particular file that you can get also in the Color Computer section of Facebook, and give it a test and see if it comes out correctly. Antonio Caballero's actually got some new projects too. So he's got his latest 3D project. And I think these are kind of like 3D, well, they're 3D printed, but I think they're actually 3D, almost like embossed coffee coasters. So this stuff is raised, it's not just colored. Kind of hard to tell from the angle of the shot here. But he's producing these, and you can kind of see the relative size on its 3D printer. And he's released the actual files on thingiverse.com. So if you want to make these yourself and you have 3D printer capable of doing it, then go grab it and have fun. And then speaking of Thingiverse, we've showed the Tower of Power, which is his custom cartridge holders, which you can get in a couple different sizes. You can hold 20 or 40 cartridges per tower, depending which one. I showed the ones that he sent me earlier a couple episodes ago, but he's actually uploaded the files for Thingiverse on these as well. So if you want to make these yourself, if you have a 3D printer, you can do that as well. And I must say, I've actually, like, I don't have them on my desk anymore because actually, I mentioned before, my closet had a whole whack load of cartridges laying on top of a shelf, taking up a lot of room. And I actually put the two towers in there and I've completely filled them up. And I've even put the longer cartridges like an RS-232 pack and a speech sound pack and stuff. And it holds them nice and firm. It's fairly tight tolerance. It's you have to give it a bit of a push to slide a cart in there. But that means also that it doesn't fall out when you're turning the thing around or picking it up or something. So they actually work quite well, and it saved me a lot of space. I actually managed to move my TC9 onto an actual shelf instead of having it just laying on the floor. So I'm quite happy about it. So if you like those when we show them on the show and you're interested in this and you have access to a 3D printer, I would definitely check this out. It's pretty decent. Next up, we have a series of posts by a person named Alex Olive. I'm not sure I pronounced that either. My apologies. But he's been digging through a whole bunch of old hardware. It's kind of like what Quigon's been doing here, but except he's been pulling out some pretty rare third-party stuff. So he's got a whole bunch of these posts here, and I thought I'd go through some of these. Some of these we've seen, I think, before, but probably not for a while. And there's some that we've seen different versions of than the one he's got. And Ron Delvaux, I'm going to need your help on this one here. So the first one he posted about that I have is the Microworks DS69 digitizer, the Digisector. Now, this would have been the original Coco 1 and 2 one, I believe, because I think it got renamed the B for the Coco 3 version. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. He said he wanted to open up the case is securely glued tight, not even just screwed. It's glued.
Right.
And he said he didn't want to risk damaging it or void the warranty, which is funny. So I'll zoom up the thing here. And I think, do you have the both versions, Ron, the Coco 1, 2, and the Coco 3, or just the DS69B?
I had the 69A, and it broke. And it was back when they were still around, so I sent it to them. You know, at first I contacted them and said it wasn't working. They said, send it to me, we'll upgrade it and send it back to you. And they did.
Okay, so you had a 69, then you got an A or a B after that?
They changed the A to a B, from what I understand. It was the same.
Okay, so this is the very original one. And Alan Huffman made mention in the comments, like you can see the disc here, the software that came with it. Copyright 1984. And as I mentioned before, Microworks actually sold the D69 for other machines before the Coco too. So this is actually even an older design than that it's based on. But this is a version 1.0 of the software. Alan has said, like, you know, he's seen version 2 and 3 and 3.2, but he's never seen the original version 1. Do you remember if you had the version 1, Ron, at the time?
I did. It looked exactly like the one we see right there, except You know, when they and when I sent it to them, I don't know if they send me a new one back or what, because I know it was sealed. And then the one I got back was sealed, but it had the B on it. So
Okay.
They probably just gave you all their current stock.
I'm thinking, yeah.
Yeah, because the B was Coco 3 specific, because I think it ran at double speed. I think that was the main hardware difference.
Right.
And the software could do much higher res, like 640 instead of 2 to 6. But
right.
Now you got me looking to see which one of them I had.
Mine is on Ron's garage. You can see it on there.
Here's a kind of a zoom up. So it's got the one. Now, what is this width thing?
Yeah, it's a you can put your screwdriver in there and change the pot
Oh, okay.
for the width.
And this must be the input from the camera or whatever you're
Correct.
using.
Yep.
There's kind of a description he pulled out of the Rainbow. And then he did end up ripping it apart.
That's a Hitachi ship there.
Oh, good. That means I won't have to take mine apart.
Yeah, 6821. So that's a PIA, right? I don't know if that's like a low power one that Hitachi did, or like Hitachi was a licensed for Motorola for doing, you know, the same chips basically to keep the run size up. So Motorola didn't have to manufacture all of them themselves. So they were second source, official second source. Yeah.
Interesting. Do they show that there's a pot up in the top corner? Has an X on it. Where you can
Yeah,
put your,
I'm assuming that's that width thing you were talking about.
it's, yeah, Phillips or regular. I think you could use.
All right, so that's cool that he found that. With the original 1.0 software, I'm kind of curious to see what that looks like compared to the later releases, how much would changed.
Of course, it's going to be in the last box I find.
Well, you might as well keep all the hardware boxes out because there's way more stuff to keep going through that he found too. Yeah. Next one up, the Rulaford Research Coco MIDI. He said, notice the board is from Speech Systems. So this is like a full-blown MIDI hardware card. You could run MIDI from the Bitbanger just with an adapter cable, but you can only do output. This is MIDI out, MIDI in, and MIDI through. In fact, a later version has these extra switches on the top where you can actually change some of these to all be throughs. So you can actually cascade a bunch of these together to control multiple synths. And Rulaford Research was Cecil, I think is his last name, Hauk, I think. He was kind of the designer of this. He sold it through Speech Systems. I thought this way that they did the covers here for these two DIN ports where they shared one screw going through both of them was kind of an interesting design decision. I don't know if that's how they all did it or not, but you can kind of see some of the other ports here. So you got 2 ports inside, 2 in the top, plus the switches. Alan, I'm going to mention in the comments here that this is a later version that has the switches. The original version of this did not. Speech Systems themselves sold most of the MIDI hardware up till they kind of got out of the Coco market, and then Cecil did Rulaford Research and sold it himself after that point.
Yeah, I found it.
And?
There's no B after it.
Just GS69, so it's kind of the same as this one. Does it say copyright 1984, or does it have a different year?
Copyright 84.
Oh, you might have the first gen too then.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
and
make
then
this even.
the software is 2.1.
Oh, that's quite a bit later than the 1.0 then.
So, but yeah, I got the.
Here, I'll stop sharing so you can show it to the audience. Just a sec. Want to zoom yourself up?
Not really.
But you're okay. You're blocking your face with the card, so.
Yeah, you're good.
So, and yeah, it's they're like glued, welded shut.
And then to make this even more confusing, I've got an original one. But its width thing has a 2 and a 3 marked on it with little arrows, like this way for 2 and this way for 3.
Oh, yours is a little different.
I don't know if this works on a 3, if you crank the width all the way to one side, or how that might work out. But yeah, and I didn't write that. That's not my writing. So someone says you crank it one way for the 2 and one way for a 3. So now I have to find the software and see. Yeah, same deal. You cut it open with a Dremel tool if you want to look inside. I wanted to.
So do you think that Microworks did that primarily as a way to keep people from, you know, using the 3 and 2 and 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 getting into the case at all because they'd wrecked the cart, or do you think that was just to seal it so it didn't pop apart and break in some way?
Yeah, I
I'm
think
guessing it's
just,
more for protection.
Yeah, I think they just did it because that's the way they built it. These are those old vacuum form or blow molded cases where it doesn't really fit very well. So the only way to hold it together is glue or.
And it keeps people's prying fingers out of it.
And
yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
You couldn't even put screws in this. It's not really a very sturdy case. It's like a.
It's sturdy when it's glued together.
Yeah, but it's like the clamshell you would ship something in now. It's not like the thing itself. So yeah, the glue holds it together as much as anything.
Now that you guys both have one, let's see results of you using it.
I used this in the day.
I've got a bunch of discs back there with pictures on it, like for some hand.
Have you ever published them?
Well, I don't know what
you ever showed them. Show them.
Right. It's funny.
I'll have to convert them to.
Yeah.
It's funny because in the day, the digitizing wasn't the problem. It's getting a still video picture to digitize. Because VCRs couldn't take stills.
You know? Yeah, if you hit pause, you get that zigzaggy line right through the picture.
I think I would. The ones I took were off of VHS, but they, as it was playing, I basically would just hit the capture button as it was going, then it would grab a frame.
Right. Now I took some with my camera because my camera would do video but not audio, which didn't matter if I did or didn't, and you could pause it. And the only problem I had with that was the camera gave added text above the top sometimes, so I'd have to crop it out, but it worked.
Yeah, I never had the Digisector. I saw it at Rainbow Fest and was quite impressed with it. I almost bought a Coco 3 version, but then Nick's Rascan came out that did some pseudo color stuff. So
if you go to my homepage, I've posted a bunch of Digisector pictures of Star Trek on there. They're on there right now. 7 pictures, I think.
I think we should have a Ron's Garage episode soon.
Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of discs in here in one of these 6 containers.
Well, how come you guys never showed the stuff?
Probably just too much to show of everything. So
maybe I just need encouragement.
Time to do it.
Kevin Holloway mentioned in the chat, and actually I remember this with the Rascan, which is Nick's one done a few years later, and he said 4-head VHS machines would do much better. That's true. I had a 4-head, and you could pause that without the jagged lines.
Yeah, but 1984.
Yeah, you had to be rich to get one of those 4-head machines. Probably $1,000 or something.
What you could do is take a couple of stills, keep bumping it, and noise would move up and down the screen, and then you could.
Yeah, I remember doing that, shifting it to the least amount of crap. I do remember that.
Well, if you want, I can show you I have to go look.
I guess I'll have to convert them to SD cards so I can put them over my PC, and then I could upload them to the thingy there.
Are you looking, Ron, or should I go on to the next one?
Yeah, I'm going to it. Give me a second here. This one, that one, and okay. So I guess what I need to do is scroll down to where it is, and then share my screen, right?
Yep. Take a quick look. I can give you an update. Doug Maston actually sent an email to Guillaume, the guy who runs the Color Computer Archive, and says, sorry for confusion, but the correct name is Phantasm, not Fastasm. And I verified this from the label on the disc I received from Sundog. If you could change that, I would appreciate it. So I expect the name change will be happening soon. So
share entire screen, share. Is it up?
You're sharing your whole desktop background, just so you know. Like you wanted to share a window, not the screen.
Yeah, I don't know what I did here.
Try stopping the share and just share the window, not the whole screen.
Okay. Stop share. Share and then the window.
Yeah, and then pick the window with your pictures in it. Whether it's a browser window or whatever you're using.
Okay. Did that work?
Just waiting for it to come across. Yeah, it's restricted to your browser now.
Okay, so well,
This just looks like regular.
I don't know what I'm seeing because I have the same screen I had last time.
Yeah, it's showing Facebook, it looks like. But
okay.
Not anything to do with the digitizer.
Okay. It's coming. No. Oh, jeez.
We're going to know everything about Ron here in a minute.
Yeah. Your whole private life just became public.
It's okay. Yes. You know what? I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to do it right by going to it and fixing it, I guess. There and there. There finally.
I didn't realize so many people on the panel actually had DS69s.
Okay.
It was the first one that was good.
Share.
At least kind of usable. I had one of Marty Goodman's, but it had like 8 knobs to sit on it.
Okay, you see it now?
We're waiting for it to come across.
Yes.
Yeah, I see Kirk.
Yep.
Oh, that one looks good. Is that a Coco 3 one or a Coco 1 and 2?
3.
Yeah, the higher res and extra shades of gray definitely helped on the Coco 3, that's for sure.
Definitely.
Yep. So all that for just that, right? Jeez. That's it. Yeah, so I have tons of them, you know, and they're all on Ron's Garage. If you do it in media or see photos and have it all listed up and scroll it up, you'll see bunches of them, down through all the pictures I posted.
Now, did you ever get in the other digitizers like say Nix Rascan or Digiscan or any of that stuff?
Never.
Or?
Nope. No, because this is enough fun. It takes a while there's a learning curve to getting it to work right. And once you get it, it's like then you start thinking of what can I take pictures of?
Like Nick, he included a 4096 color version of a Vegemite jar next to a koala bear.
Okay. Yeah. See, then you do weird stuff.
I don't know if you feed a koala or anything living Vegemite, I assume they just die horribly.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Sorry for the mess.
Yeah.
That's okay. We know a lot more about you than we did before. So.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. It's all out there. You can go see it anytime you want. Yeah.
Anyway, here you can see the inside of the Rulaford Research. It says Coco MIDI Speech Systems, copyright 1986. So this is the actual one with 4 ports, the 2 switches.
It's all metal. No plastic MIDI stuff.
Yeah, no, it looks like a solidly built board, that's for sure. There's the underside with some bodge wiring.
See, and we're not going to be able to hear that either, are we?
Hear what?
Any MIDI through it?
No. These are just pictures of the hardware. I don't think he's even plugged them in yet. Now, I will mention this card here, the Coco MIDI with the full in, out, through. It basically has been duplicated by Jim Brain, and I think we had Who was it who came on and demonstrated us on, I think on the old Coco Talk show? Pulling a blank on who it was.
Was it
But basically,
Brian
we've had demos of the Jim Brain version of it, and it works exactly the same because you actually use the same software like Ultimuse and Lyra and others, and the Coco MIDI Pro. But if you're interested in getting one of these and you're not lucky enough to be able to find this old retro hardware from the 80s type thing, you can actually order the MIDI Maestro right from Jim Brain's site, and that's a much shrunk down version. Of course, modern technology can compress a lot more stuff in a lot smaller space, so it's a much smaller card, and it's also open source hardware. So if you wanted to build this yourself, you can actually, get the file links to that and actually do that. And it's just got the 3 ports, but this will work on a Coco 1, 2, 3, Dragon 32, Dragon 64, and it also has the MIDI in, out, through, so you can actually do all that kind of stuff. And I know Ultimate, for example, supports up to 16 voices at a time using this card. So, and also the original color that we saw earlier. So anyway, if you're interested in MIDI and you have MIDI synthesizers kicking around, then you can still get the modern equivalent for it. Next to that,
hang on.
What?
Is there a source for MIDI file?
What do you mean source for what?
Well, let's say you got one of these, or if you wanted to do play MIDI stuff, where can you get the MIDI files from?
Oh God, they're all over the place.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay, I never really, I guess, tried recently to do it. I know back in the day they were all over.
Yeah, well, I think, doesn't Windows have a native MIDI driver that most sound cards kind of share to play the old MIDI files? They did for a while. I don't know if they still do, but. Here's the Speech Systems Coco MIDI. So this is the earlier version of it, basically, which has less ports. There's the inside of that one, version 1.0. You'll notice there's not these extra connectors here on the top. So this is a much simpler version of the interface.
Does Nitrous 9 come with some?
Yep. Ultimuse is pre-installed, and I think we have some sample MIDI files in there that you can play through that.
Yeah, I thought so.
Next up that, and he seems to have a lot of speech system stuff. Here he has Ears version 2.0. Now this is the cartridge that lets you speak. You actually got a little headset with it, and you would actually speak into a microphone. And you could program even BASIC to react with, if it figured out that your word that you tried to say dir. And if you match that to the dir command in this BASIC, if you spoke the word dir, it would actually execute a directory of the screen. And you could fit in a few of these keywords. It wasn't the most accurate thing in the world from what I remember, because Bill had one for a while. If you pick words that were quite different from each other, you can actually get it to work with a couple different commands, but you have stuff that was pretty close. It really didn't interpret it all the way. I remember Bill programmed list and dir and 1 or 2 other commands, and 20% of the time he said dir would do a list instead. So it was like very early going on voice recognition software. But mind you, this is on an 8-bit machine from the 80s, right? So the fact that it worked at all is pretty stunning.
That would be a cool thing to watch, dir, dir.
Yeah. That's literally what we said. You go dir and it would dir, dir and it would dir, dir and it would list. Anyway, you can see the audio ports there. That's the inside there. So I actually have never seen the inside of one of these before, so that was kind of interesting seeing here. But that main chip, do you hardware guys recognize that main chip at all?
That General Instruments speech thing on the left there? It was running around. I don't remember any details of it anymore.
So is that specifically for speech input, or?
It's some kind of speech processing thing. It's a pattern. Oh geez, I don't remember it now.
Did Radio Shack sell a chip like that? On the rack, where you can.
They had one that would do like 9 commands, but it was really limited. So you had to do like left and turn right. You couldn't say left and right because it couldn't get those two separated. So they had like some pre-specified commands that you could use. It was fun. I mean, I made a little robot and yelled at it all the time, and then it ran off the table.
Another fun thing to watch.
By the way, Brian Walsh, the chat says, Ron, I uploaded a VHD virtual hard drive file with all the Ultimuse Nitrous files to the archive. So it's a whole separate hard drive image filled with MIDI stuff. So
wow, great, good.
Next up is the Symphony 12 version 1.0. I know Bill actually has one of these right now, and he's actually writing OS9 drivers for it. But this was basically 4 sound chips combined into one card. There's the stereo output, so this did support stereo. And you basically have 4 of these AY38912 chips. And each of those has, I'm trying to remember, is a 3-voice music plus a noise generator, which gives you 12 voices total. And if I remember, it was pretty well hard-coded for 6 voices on one channel, 6 voices in the other channel for left and right. And plus the noise generator, you could do like sound effects for like fake drums and stuff. And there was a few things. There was actually a keyboard you could actually play through here because it was fully polyphonic with that many sound chips. You can actually like play like both hands doing chords and stuff and have all the voices come out.
All right.
But this is another one that has now been duplicated that Jim Brain sells and also has a a free version of getting the specs for it if you want to make your own. And that's called the Philharmonic 12. And you can see here too, it's also, oops, I didn't want to zoom. It's once again a little bit smaller than the original, a little bit more compact because, of course, modern technology, you can replace some of the bigger support chips and stuff with smaller things. But you can definitely get it there. And I should have mentioned this on the previous one too, but Jim sells these as in multiple different ways. You can get it as the PCB only. You supply your own chips, sockets, etc. You can get a parts kit, which includes everything you need, but you have to do all the soldering yourself, or you can buy a complete unit, which for anti-soldering people like me is perfect. But yeah, if you're interested in doing that, where you want 12 voices and 4 noise channels, you can actually get a modern reproduction of that. Just order the Philharmonic 12 from Microanimations. And here's the speech system stereo pack. So this was 8-bit output, dual channel, exactly the same as the Orchestra 90, except this came out on the Coco at least 2 years before the Orchestra 90 came out for the Coco. Now, there was the Orchestra, what is it, the 85 that the chair sitting Model 1 and 3 had out, I think, already at this point. So it's kind of like it bounced back and forth. But these were this is the very first stereo thing I'm aware of on the Coco. Now, this one here, you'll notice got this weird ribbon cable coming out. Now, the standards stereo pack came with just 2 RCA jacks, left and right channels. And this one was modified by somebody to use this ribbon cable to output to some other weird thing that they had for doing sound. You could reverse it back to the original and just use the RCA jacks, which would have been over here. But this was kind of like custom hacked.
So that chip actually has 8 I/O lines on it. So it looks like they may have tied into those, using it for something else.
Yeah, could be. I don't know what, I can't remember what the Orc 90 itself uses. Do you remember, Rick or Mark?
No. That AMI, what's that stand for?
American Mega?
American
Is that
Mega
AMT?
Trends, I think.
Yeah.
No, that's AMI. It's not AMT.
Oh yeah, it is AMI. Okay, I have no idea.
I have a 6809 made by AMI in a Coco 2. Strange.
This is a much rarer one. I've seen some of these other, I've seen all these other cards before at various times. This is the first time I've seen a BT, Basic Technology 1030 board. Now, Basic Technologies made one of the earliest multi-pack style interfaces. In fact, theirs has more slots than the Tandy one does and came out before. I can't remember, was the Basic one that had the 5 slot or was it 6 slot? There was a couple competitors that were doing this. So you could do all kinds of I/O and stuff. They weren't meant for doing game carts like the Tandy one was set up for. They were meant to add extra hardware for like, measuring stuff off of, analog circuitry or whatever. But this one here is called the Versatile Interface Port. And this one here is 2 8-bit parallel ports, 2 16-bit timer counters, and a serial shift register, all user programmable.
Easy for you to say.
Apparently not. But basically, these were designed, it's kind of like the A-bus stuff, where you would be buying all these different hardware bits for any projects you wanted to do, all to be put into this extended multi-slot, multi-pack style things. You could do all kinds of hardware projects. And I do remember seeing these advertised in Rainbow for quite a long time. And I do know some people that bought them because I talked to people that had, but I've never actually seen one of these, sub cards before. I have seen the actual main interface. In fact, if I remember, I think Brian Weezer might even have some of this stuff too. I don't know if he's still on the call or not, but they like the 1010, the 1020, the 1030 were all different IO. That this might be serial ports. It might be a whole bunch of timers. It might be an interrupt controller or whatever. And this particular one's kind of like mainly the parallel interface stuff. I don't know if this was bidirectional parallel. I know, like, for example, the Eliminator, its parallel port was bidirectional. You could read and write off of it, which like PC parallel ports did. In fact, Norton Software's one of their copying programs for backing up disks and stuff actually used the parallel port because it was faster than doing it off of the serial port. So, but I do like that they have this little grip thing here that you can grab with your hand that's thicker than the rest of the cart. So that was a custom cart for sure. There's the inside. I'll zoom it up so you guys can see the big main chip here. The 6522.
P.
And tremors. Would that be like a PIA style thingy?
Yeah, the 65s and the 68s were the same things.
It is called the versatile interface adapter.
So you have the 6522, you have the 6821,
The 65s were made by Rockwell and the 68s were Motorola.
But were they functionally identical then, or were there some minor differences?
I think they were the same.
Well, they were kind of similar. So like we used the 65 series UART for our serial ports, but we use the 68 series UART for the MIDI interfaces. You saw those 6850s go by earlier.
That chip does have the Rockwell logo on it. See it? The round circle.
But originally it was designed by MOS Technologies. It was bought by Commodore.
Okay.
And there was a minor difference between the 65 21s and 22s. 22s were open collector, and you used pull-up resistors to complete the circuit. It made it more robust, which is why they switched over to those on the Coco 2s for the keyboard.
Okay. There's the underside of the board. So like I said, they made a fair number of these different cards that they sold. Not as much. I think A-Bus had the biggest one, and A-Bus was cross-platform. There was versions of the A-Bus bus for Apples and Cocos and a whole bunch of other machines, and they had probably several dozen add-on cards from what I remember from their ads. Mark Oberholzer, I think you've mentioned that before. You had A-Bus maybe for your Apple?
No, I didn't have the A-Bus stuff. No, I've heard of it, but I didn't have anything for it. I just have some basic I/O things like this. John Linville was collecting A-Bus stuff.
Yeah, John Linville got mine. You want to see?
Yeah, because they had like motor controllers and all kinds of stuff. It was pretty cool. Like if you're a hardware tinkerer back in the day, that would have been awesome.
That's how you control stuff.
Now this one, I think this is Quigon. Isn't this yours?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're muted.
Yes, it is mine.
And you said found this going through my stuff. Can't remember what it is. Anyone knows? I think we figured out it is a Digiscan. Is that correct?
Some people were saying Rascan.
No, I had a Rascan. Rascan was the older model and was much bigger. It was like about this big.
Okay. Because it's got the 3 different DIN connectors and the RCA jack. Haven't had a chance to try to test it out yet.
Yeah, so the RCA jack would go to your video source, and then the I can't remember what Nick used on that because the Rascan had the same connectors, but it was a much bigger case, like literally 4 to 5 times bigger.
So it's got the 5-pin DIN, and it's got 2 6-pin DINs. So the joysticks and the what is that? Because I said they're serial, but goes into 3 different connectors.
Now, did you find the source or the discs for the Digiscan?
No.
For the actual digitizing?
No,
I think that's on the archive. So if you want to try it and see if that is exactly what. Oh, Nick showed up. Cool. Are you there, Nick? You might be muted. I see you unmuted Zoom, but I don't see or hear anything. Since he's a creator of both the Rascan and the Digiscan, he can straighten this all up once and for all.
That's what I was hoping for today.
Right.
Paging Nick. Paging Nick.
North to south, north to south.
I know he was having problems with his Zoom earlier, so maybe he's got to reboot his Zoom again or his computer or something. Anyway, since you actually have it handy, Quigon, we'll come back to you once Nick gets his audio going or fully wakes up. It's one of the two. But I'm pretty sure that's the Digiscan. Next up after that is Todd Wallace, known as Lord Dragon, on the Coco Discord. And he built his own Coco GMC. Of course, that's the game's master cartridge that John Linville designed. And that's basically a sound card with some extra features added onto it as well. And Todd had done, we've covered this actually probably a year or two ago when he first did it, but he was making some chiptunes players that would be able to handle various output hardware on the Coco. So it worked with, say, the OPL3 chip that comes with the Mega Mini MPI by Ed Snyder, Zipster Zone, and the Game Master cartridge, and I think one or two others I can't remember off the top of my head, but basically his player, you just tell it what hardware do you want to play it to. And but he'd been testing, except for the Mega Mini MPI OPL3 chip, he didn't have any of the other cards. And I don't think John and Neal are selling the GMC anymore at this point. At least that's kind of what I gather. Correct me if I'm wrong, John or Neal, if you watch this. But he actually went and got one built up himself, and now he's been able to finally test it, not in an emulator, which is the only place he tested before, but on real hardware. And it works. And his chiptunes player actually lets you make a text file that describes running multiple things in a row, so it kind of becomes like a jukebox player. And you can actually change which output hardware it goes to. And I thought, rather than trying to explain all this, I thought I'd just play the video that he uploaded to his YouTube channel. It's only just a hair over 3 minutes, so I figured you might as well get the full thing, and you can actually hear what the different sound chips sound like running through some of these samples files.
Hey guys, so it's been a while since I made a video about my chiptunes player, but I recently got some new hardware that I'm excited to show off, and so I'm going to revisit it here. When I first wrote this player, I really only supported the OPL chip, which is built into the Mega Mini MPI developed by Ed Snyder. I did later add support for a few other devices, but using emulators, since I didn't have the real hardware to test with until now. This is a Game Master cartridge, otherwise known as GMC, developed by John Linville. I was able to get a PCB from him, and I ordered the parts and put it together. This is based off of the SN76489 sound chip, I believe. And the cool thing about my player, the way I made it, is it supports playlists. So each VGM file has header information about what chip type, and it can detect that, and it will automatically route it to the appropriate device. So when I start this off, whoops, that's the wrong, it's actually a playlist file. So this track right here, you can see, is coming off of the Game Master cartridge in slot 1. It's a cute little song. Then if we skip this, the next song in the track is the Mega Mini MPI OPL chip. Little Doom action. Classic track. Sorry about the video quality here, filming the CRT. But yeah, and then we move on to the third one, which is another GMC track. And then it routes it right back to slot 1. And since all the audio just universally comes out of this port, that's where I'm kind of capturing it from. But there you go. It sounds really good. Very happy with it. Also, I have a bunch of extra parts for this board, and John Linville said he has several PCBs still available. So if you are interested in having one of these, feel free to reach out to me. I would not be opposed to potentially putting one together for you. Also, you can see this socket here where you can put a ROM. for games or whatever. I'm just mainly using the sound chip, so I didn't populate that, but that's another function that this board has. So you can boot a game directly off of ROM that uses this custom sound chip, or I think you can even put HDB DOS on here. So anyways, I hope you found that cool. If you did, feel free to drop a like or leave a comment. And if you really want to stay up to date about my latest tech exploits, you can subscribe. Thanks.
Anyway, thanks, Todd, for posting that. It was kind of cool to see it switching automatically between two different sound cards in the same Coco. And vastly different chip abilities between OPL3, which is a much later one used by the Sound Blaster compared to the GMC one. But both, really good in their own way, and of course take way less CPU time than, say, cramming it out at the DAC, as I'm sure Nick can attest to, if he's able to speak. There he is.
I'm having trouble with my camera mic, so I had to switch to the headset.
Oh, okay. Did you catch the Digiscan stuff?
Yeah, it was the Digiscan. It was the latest version.
Okay, there you go, Quigon. Confirmed by the creator himself.
Do you want to see what an A-bus looks like? I got a picture up.
Yeah, I can stop sharing here. Just for a
let me
sec here.
know.
Why don't you show that?
Ready? Do you see it?
Yeah, by Alpha Software or Alpha Technologies, I think the company was called.
That's it. I sold this to
John Linville?
Yeah, Linville. Yeah.
Now, do you remember, was there bigger backplanes that had even more slots? I can't remember.
I don't know, but this one had a interface to the world, analog to digital converter, and a real-time clock.
And that's a daisy chain connector on the right edge there. So
Right, yeah, you could do more than the 5 slots. That's what I thought. Yeah.
This here?
No, the other side. So see how
this
the
one?
connector
Yeah.
comes off of the Coco?
Right there.
There's the same connector coming off of that to extend it to the next.
Yeah, interesting, huh?
So you could definitely get yourself divorced with one of these. And
Yeah. This thing didn't have a cover on it, and it looks like it had holes in here for screws.
Yeah.
It probably had a box. It was enclosed at one time, but I didn't get it that way. So. Thanks,
Yeah, I just remember out of all the third party, like the basic technologies, the Alpha, there's a third one. I can't remember the top. I think Frank Hogg sold the other one. But the Alpha one definitely had the most support boards. There was lots of them, mainly because they made that multi-slot thing for a multitude of 8-bit computers back in the day. So they could bulk produce the actual cards that did the actual hardware that was being used by these bus planes. Because they would make them for every 8-bit, and then you could sell a lot more of them, so it'd be cheaper.
Oh, can I show you one more thing real quick?
Sure.
It has
I hope the thunderstorm that's going through won't kill my power or something stupid.
okay, so if I go back this way and down, here's the ad.
Yep, I remember those full page ads.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they got 2 daisy chained in their picture too.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Cool. Okay, that's the right window. Okay, so Jeffrey Worley's, I think, fairly new to the Coco Discord, at least fairly new to being active on the Coco Discord, was working on getting a composite output because he wasn't too impressed with the RF output on his Coco. And he did a couple posts, and these are kind of in reverse order. So this is kind of his parts list for doing a composite board, which I believe is based on the Mark Data Products universal driver that multiple people have used in the past. So this is kind of his parts list that he used to make it here, and he has a couple samples. Basically between RF and what the composite's giving out. And then here's the actual board itself, the way he got it wired up, and then he kind of shows some comparisons between them as well. So this is the installed composite mod. As he mentioned, you can probably shorten the cables a bit here because they're kind of just floating around. But better to have too long a cable. You can shorten that easily. It's harder to extend one. And this is a clone of the original 80s Universal Video Adapter from Mark Data Products. There is a place you can actually get the schematics for this online because a few people have done this mod, so you can actually find it on the Color Computer Archive, I think, actually. And you're showing the wiring side. And here's the Arkanoid game on composite mode. Now, I did want to point out here, like this might have been his monitor tint adjustments if it has it, but artifact colors of the Coco are usually orangish red / blue. This is kind of phase shifted to the magenta and green version, like what the Apple II does when you set that 1 bit on the graphics byte. So it's not, it looks nice, clear compared to say an RF, but it's not quite the right colors. But mind you, his channel 4 is also giving it even worse, but you can definitely see like there's more fuzzing, there's more lines traveling through it. This other picture here on the composite board looks a lot cleaner than the RF one, so a big improvement. I really wish Tandy, because they had a composite version of the Coco 2 that they sold to schools, would have sold these in regular stores. I think they would have sold a lot more because, text quality for even just doing word processing or something would have been much better.
Yeah, but then you would have had to buy a monitor to support it because a lot of the TVs at that time didn't have a composite input.
Or you could have put both in there.
VCRs
You could put your VCR.
Yeah, you could, but like I said,
that's true.
Uh,
So this is showing OS9 or Nitrous 9 level 1 version 3.3 running with the alternate color set here on RF. And then he did the regular color set here on composite. This one does look a little bit odd in a few spots here. I don't know if that's maybe just the camera or if it actually is showing some letters darker than the others. I'm not sure. I'm guessing it's just the camera. There he's using FujiNet. So anyway, Andrew Ayers, who we mentioned before, actually found the PDF version of the original Mark Data Products composite. So if you wanted to actually make this yourself and you want the full schematics on how to do it in PDF format, he kindly uploaded it to the Coco group on Facebook, and you just get it from the file section. And if you want to make that, so it does give you a pretty good improved quality. Plus, it gives you opportunity to use with current modern TVs that still support composite, because a lot of them aren't supporting RF anymore. Also, probably easier for some video capture devices as well. And why did you suddenly reload there? Interesting. Okay, so Glen Dahlgren, owner of Sundog Systems and also user of Phantasm that we were talking about earlier, posted an update in his Mysterium newsletter. Now, we've had him on the show multiple times because he did a ton of stuff with the Coco. We also had him helping co-interview Dave Dyes from Diacom because they kind of did a pass the torch type thing. Plus the whole, controversy with Lonnie Falk on advertising rates. But he's obviously published a few books here, which are kind of fantasy novels for the teenage set, the Chaos series, as we called them. We've showed him. He's actually had some promos about the books and stuff. He does the audiobooks as well. Well, he put up a post here on June 20th called, "Are the Chronicles Headed for the Movies?" And I'll skip the little intro part here. But he met with a guy named Rick in Hollywood, Rick Selvage. And he's the executive producer of the Wheel of Time TV show. Now, Glenn did the PC port of the Wheel of Time video game back in the 90s, because after Sundog folded, he started working on PC games and was quite successful there as well. And the guy that's in charge of the executive producer of the Wheel of Time TV show contacted Glenn, and together we relaunched the game. So they relaunched the Wheel of Time game for the PC. But then they started talking about maybe they should be working on either a movie or a TV series based on the Chaos books. Now, that doesn't guarantee that anything's going to happen. The fact that a serious executive producer in Hollywood's actually looking actively into that means there's a chance. So for those of you, and I know a fair number of our people, our viewers and our people on the panel have actually ordered and read the books that Glenn's written. And in fact, I think he's got a 5th one he's working on now, if I remember correctly. So it's kind of like Hitchhikers. It's the most inappropriately named trilogy ever. I like the books are really, really good. The audiobooks are really good. And now there's a chance this might become a TV series or a movie. I was going to ask for those of you that have actually seen the books, do you think they should try to do it as a movie, or do you think they should do a TV series? I personally would think the TV series, because there's multiple books and stuff, and you can actually fill in like all the plot instead of having to cut it down to a 2.5-hour movie or something. But what did you guys think?
Why one movie?
True.
So next Harry Potter.
Right.
Amazon has all these series, you know. Could be like that.
Yeah. Marco, you have one too, don't you? You've read the books anyway?
Oh yeah, I've read. I think I read all 4. I know I have hardcover, at least a couple of them. Had one today. It was in the book stack.
Yeah. So would you be interested in a TV or movie version of those?
Yeah, I think I'd probably like a movie version, but I'd settle for a TV version too. Yeah. Either way, whatever it takes.
Anyway, he goes a kind of a description of how they met and started talking about it and stuff here. And he says, I'll give his conclusion here. More here as things develop. Keep your fingers crossed, and maybe you'll see the Chronicles on the big screen someday. So I think that'd be awesome to have somebody that started as a software writer for the Coco, writing graphical adventure games and occasional arcade games, ends up doing a big Hollywood dude after already being a very successful PC games developer. So Glen's definitely gone places.
And then we'll have an adventure game for the Coco based on it. It'll go back to it.
I think we tried to talk him into that earlier, and he's not interested in going that far back. But I mean, the assembler he used back in the days out there now, so maybe somebody else can pick up the mantle. Anyway, I thought that was just really cool seeing somebody that successful in the Coco market getting possibly even more successful and becoming big time Hollywood. We won't be able to get him on the show anymore after that, I'm sure, but we probably have like an appearance fee. Anyway, that's it for the regular news and the Dragon news. So next up, I'm going to quickly go through the upcoming shows. We kind of did a summary of VCF Southwest already, so I can skip that.
Good, break time.
Share the right window here. Okay, you guys should be seeing the International Retro Computer Expo 2025, which was formerly called Boatfest. This is July 11th to 13th, so it's just a couple weeks away in Hurricane, West Virginia. Of course, that's ran by John Schaller, known as Bodokar, Amigo Aaron, and his brother Brent, and also the host of the Coco Show, which I'll be talking about a little bit later. You can get your tickets online. All the links are in the show notes, which you can get on the Coco Discord, of course, as are links to all the stories we talked about. There's even a little promotional video if you want to kind of see what it's about. Next up after that is VCF West at the Computer History Museum in Mountain View, California, which is August the 1st to 2nd. Running from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. on Friday and 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. on Saturday. There are some local Coco people in the area that usually show up for this. Michael Furman being one of them, for example. And I think Mark's been down to one of these too, if I remember, Marco.
I have been, a couple of them.
Yeah. Any plans this year or not in the cards?
Not at the moment.
Okay. We also had walkthroughs before, so if Michael does make it to this one, I'm hoping that we'll be able to maybe get him to do a quick walkthrough.
I know that Steve Baxton's going to be there because he was asking if anybody else was going to show up.
Oh, okay, cool. Maybe we should hook up with him and see if he can give us a bit of a walkthrough to it. The one nice part about this show is actually it's a double bill. So when you get your tickets for VCF, you also get to go through the Silicon Valley Computer Museum. And of course, Silicon Valley is where a lot of the whole home computer market started, like HP and Apple and a bunch of others. So you get to see a whole bunch of vintage hardware and details of how the whole Silicon Valley thing started type thing at the same time you're attending VCF, which is awesome. Next after that is the largest show, VCF Midwest. It's also still free. This is September 13th to 14th at the Schaumburg Convention Center in Schaumburg, Illinois, which was formerly the home of Rainbow Fest back in the day. This is the 20th anniversary edition of this show, and I think it had like 4,000 people last year, so I could just imagine how big it's going to be with it being the anniversary and all. Still free, as mentioned before. There's usually a large number of Coco people here because, of course, that's right near where Glenside is. So anybody that's local to the Glenside Color Computer Club, which sponsors Coco Fest and has been involved with helping organize Rainbow Fest back in the 80s, they should be out there as well. And a lot of you have gone to, are planning to go to, etc. Rick Euland, I think, is one as an example. And hopefully a lot of the Glenside people make it out there. And should be a great time. That same weekend is the Retro World Expo being held September 12th to 14th at the Connecticut Convention Center in Hartford, Connecticut. Tickets and vendor applications. They're slowly getting things actually all kind of put in here now. You can purchase tickets now already. You can now apply to be a vendor. Registration for the wrestling part of this show, because this is basically covering a whole bunch of like video games and home consoles and home computers and electronic tabletop handhelds and that kind of stuff, but it also has like wrestling and some other side projects that most retro shows don't have. So it's one Henry Gernhardt was thinking of going to. Now, none of us have heard from Henry in a while. At least I haven't. So I don't know what's happening there, if he's just busy, or hopefully he can still make it a show, because I'd really like to get somebody on the floor here just to show us what this kind of a show is like, because it seems to be a fair bit different than some of the other retro shows. And then also that same weekend, if you're up in Canada, there's the World of Retro Computing, WORC, September 13th to 14th, the Old Goodies Department Store location at 8 Queen Street North in Kitchener, Ontario. And this is the same place it was last year. And we actually did get some streaming from Frank. We also had some other Coco representation there besides Frank and Retro Rewind selling diagnostic carts and Coco STCs, etc. We also had Stacy Vetzel showing off some OS9 stuff in a Coco 1 and a Coco 3. And there's some other, people around. Also, the people that did the Super Pet, which is basically the pet with dual CPUs. You have a 6809 CPU that can run OS9, and you also have the 6502. That was all designed at the University of Waterloo, not too far away. So a lot of cool stuff. They had about 500 people at this show last year, so it was a pretty decent size. There's vendors, seminars, LAN parties, workshops, door prizes, raffles, and no admission fee, so it's free. And this runs from noon to 5 p.m. on both Saturday and Sunday. Next after that is Tandy Assembly, which if you're into anything computer-related Tandy, so Pocket Computers, the Model 100s, the Z80 base machines, the Coco, the 68000 base machines like the 6000, basically just everything that did Tandy 1000s, all the Tandy, PC-compatible lines. This is the show for you. It covers it all at once. And this takes place from September 26th to the 28th in Springfield, Ohio. And I think they've already sold out of tables, if I remember correctly. And yeah, sold out as of May 13th. And they have some exhibitors already listed if you go to the exhibitors page. And if you want to volunteer for doing some exhibiting. There's also on the Friday, the September 26th, is their Tandy Tech Track Talks, which are basically very technical seminars. And then you get the more generalized stuff on the Saturday, Sunday. So if you're not into the technical, you're more into, say, the collecting side of things, you can probably skip the Friday part, save yourself a little bit of money, because I think it's about $10 a day. But this has been a pretty long-running show now, and they're starting to outgrow their digs there, and they may have to find a larger place to go to. Next up after that is the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, October 17th to 19th at the Oregon Convention Center in Portland, Oregon. Obviously, this is a game-oriented one, not just, the gaming machines and tabletops and arcade machines and everything else, but also paraphernalia related to them. Like you can probably get like a plush toy of Pac-Man and that kind of stuff here. This is one that Tim and AJ have actually been an exhibitor before for the Sibling Rivalry show that they have on YouTube. Tim Linder and AJ, her sister. And I think they are planning on attending it this year, not as exhibitors this time, but just to actually take it all in, because it's a pretty large show, as you can see from the picture. It gets quite crowded. And if you're an actual vendor, you probably don't have time to see everything else there. So it's probably good to go at least once without having to have a table up. But if you're into gaming and you're in the Portland, Oregon area, I would definitely go check this one out. Next up after that, just after the new year in January, in Canada, is the very first official VCF for Canada in Montreal. This is January 25th to the 26th. It will be held at the Royal Military College outside of Montreal. It's far enough ahead. They're still getting some details made. I know we've got some people that are involved with it directly with setting it up. Frank from Retro Rewind is actually one of the sponsors for it, as he is with WRC. So I'm hoping to get some insider baseball on that pretty soon here and get some more details. But if you're in the Montreal area or Toronto, which isn't too far from Montreal, or anywhere in the areas of Quebec and Ontario, definitely worth checking out to be part of history, the very first official VCF in Canada. And next up, of course, this splash page for Glenside's Glenside Color Computer Club's webpage here is talking about CocoFest 2025 that just went by at the beginning of May. We've got some tentative dates now for the next one. It should be April 24th, 25th. I haven't got confirmation from Grant or Jim yet, but it sounds pretty sure, like 99%. So hopefully we'll get the official word on if that is the actual dates we'll be having. I don't know if they'll have confirmed hotel rates, etc. yet. But hopefully we'll find all that out fairly soon so people can plan ahead. And that's it for the upcoming shows. And then I'm going to go into the gaming news, and then I'm going to hand it off to Ken. Talk about the game challenge. Okay. So first up on the gaming news, YouTube channel attempts a gaming channel by LRU recorded a video of a couple of games that he's submitting high score attempts that are Coco or Dragon-based games. The first one here is Storm Arrows, which is a Spectral Associates clone of Targ, if you remember that arcade game, which I always found Spectral did a bit odd. Maybe they didn't want to get sued, but the colors that the original arcade game Targ used are very close to what a VDG chip does in one of its native modes. So they could have made it look pretty well identical, just slightly lower res, and that's not what they did. So I'm guessing that was probably they were worried about copyright things here. And I was going to ask Ken here, I think we have played Storm Arrows in the challenge before, haven't we? Assuming he's still awake.
I think we did. It looks familiar.
Okay. Because I think the 34,000 score is actually a pretty decent one. So, and then another one he did the Dragon version of Shock Trooper. Shock Trooper, of course, is a Mark Data Products originally. I think it was Microdeal sold it in the UK. Now, this actually, you can see here, it's got, they wanted color instead of black and white, so they have, picked the color thing. Now, the thing is here, it looks like this is one of the few games where they actually did modify the graphics a little bit to try to make it look a little bit better. Because most of the time, they just took the artifact graphics and just told it, you're running P Mode 3, and then the colors are all wrong because they're totally mismatched. But in the original one, which used the artifact color set here, I think some of the color mappings here might be a little bit different. I'd have to double check to make absolutely sure, but the contrast of having the red background and then you're walking across that and the guns are like yellow and green for the most part here, I think makes it a little bit easier to see. And of course, the exact same sound effects. It's the same program basically, but you got a 16,460 score. That's not that great. We've got several people in the Coco community that have actually come on and wrapped the entire darn game, sometimes several times over, because I think there's 16 rooms to go through total. I've never been that good at it to get to that point, but I can usually make it up to like the end of level 2 or level 3 for getting your shrinking spaceship parts. But kind of interesting to see the Dragon version with the alternate colors. Next about that is kind of one that's got a little bit of history in the Tier City community, and it's a Jim Gary port of Arctic Adventure, originally written by Harry McCracken in 1981 on a Tier 80 Model 1. Now, for those of you who watch the Twit Network or you read some of the PC computer magazines, Harry McCracken's a columnist and has been for decades. And he's also a guest on the Twit Network every once in a while on the main show, Twit, and on some other shows too, if they're talking about specific Mac stuff or security stuff or whatever. And I've actually talked to him on the Twit chat a few times. He seems to be a really nice guy. He's more of a hardcore geek than a lot of the columnists and stuff are. But this is a game he wrote back as a teenager, way back in 1981, and it got published in the book Captain 80 Book of Basic Adventures by Jake Kim. Sorry? Oh, I thought I heard something. Basically, he wrote it for there as a teenager, and then he actually came back in 2021, so literally 40 years later, because he found there was an outstanding bug that had been there which made the game unwinnable. And it had been unwinnable for 40 years. So he came and fixed it. I remember he talked about this on Twitter at the time. But Jim Gary took the fixed version and converted it over to the MC10. So it's basically a text adventure game type thing. Warning, this is a full walkthrough. So if you play the whole video here, you will be spoilers all over the place of how to win the game. But I just like the history, like a Model 1 game that had a bug for 40 years. The original author came back, fixed it, and then Jim converted it over to the MC10. So there's the gameplay video there, but there's also a point to the original article where Harry McCracken talks about the game, its development, how he got it started, and then what he had to fix, and releasing the fixed version of it for the Terra City Model 1 and 3. And I like the fact he actually chose a font, and he's got like a picture roughly the time I wrote Arctic Adventure, so that's him as a teenager. There's the Captain 80 book of Basic Adventures, the cover for it. Advertisement for it, etc. The Model 3, he's pretty sure he programmed it on this very Model 3, as he puts it, this actual one. So good history on the game development itself, and then what he fixed. So, and then Jim Gary reported. So that's pretty cool. Kind of ties. It's more like a Tandy assembly all in one package here. It's covering several machines. Next up after that, Retro Game C_LI channel on YouTube, which does general gameplay videos for a whole bunch of machines. Turned out a whole whackload of Dragon 32 and 64 videos here. I'm not going to play anything unless you guys see something we've never seen before. So he's got like Jet Boot Collins, Supernova, Cosmic Crusader, which we have played in the challenge. Star Spores, Rommel 3D, Ruby Robber, Shaft, Brock's Kingdom. I don't think we played that one in the challenge before. King's Nut. Task Ship, which I don't think we played before. It seems to be kind of a scramble clone. Chicken Run, I'm fairly certain we haven't played that one either. So there's lots of ideas here for you, Ken. Trace Race. I don't think I've ever even seen that one before.
We did play Chicken Run.
Oh, did we? Is that Sloopy I hear?
Yes.
Oh, yes. I didn't even know you were on.
No one expects a Sloopy.
Anyway, there's a fair number of games that he's just put up this past week here. So if you want to check those out, check his channel. Links once again in the show notes. He also snuck in one Coco 3 game, and that's GFL's Championship Football 2. Now, this is a cartridge game, and it's kind of a 3D football game. But the weird thing about it is that I don't think the colors are right. And I think we discussed this on the show before, but basically it's hard-coded when you turn the cartridge on to come up for composite only or something like that. Or maybe it's vice versa, I can't remember. I did look in the code, and I did see there is an alternate set of palettes, which I assume is for the other type of monitor, but I can't find anything in the game code that actually uses it. So I don't know if that was put in. They forgot to put in a key press or something to, activate it, or if they had a menu they were planning, they forgot to put in, or what happened there. But I might have to just patch the disc version of it and maybe just, force the alternate palettes over top the originals and make a composite and RGB separate version so that you can put in a single disc image and you can pick whichever one you have for your hardware you're running it on. Because I don't think it's supposed to be this light purple and stuff and blue faces and things like that. Expertech did another one. He's kind of running through all of his disc collections for his Coco 2 from back in the day. And the one he decided to cover this week is actually an educational game that talks. And this was written by Steve Blinn for Computer Island. Computer Island was famous for doing pretty well nothing but educational games that, for all kinds of age ranges from really young, kindergartners all the way up into high school type thing. But this one also used the third-party package by Classical Computing that was called Speak Up. And this is software voice synthesis. And there's two versions, a 16K version, a 32K version, and you can get better samples on the higher RAM. And I remember fiddling with Speak Up quite a bit back in the day, but I never saw this game. And I don't know too many details of the game. I don't think he remembered too much about it either because he was typing in some nonsensical stuff and it would just speak to you. But it's understandable. I do remember on the Coco 3, if you double speed it, it becomes more understandable, but a much higher pitch voice. So, and to be honest, Speak Up getting patched for a Coco 3 so it can store the samples with much higher fidelity in the upper RAM that's outside of BASIC. You could probably do some pretty interesting stuff with it. But that's not a project I'm going to take on. Next after that, we have some game updates you can download from Facebook. The first one is by Jim Jewett. And he's updated the Space War and Spoof War, some additional sounds, and he puts in quotes, music. Beware the Empires. So this is one we've actually covered before, and he's made a new version now with some additional sound and music effects. And it's a free download at the Color Computer group on Facebook in the file section. Just take a look for spacewar.disc version 1. Then another software update came out. Richard Kelly, Retro Rick, if you've been on the Coco Discord. Beware of the KBB version 1.10, and this is bug fix time. So he released one just a few days earlier that was to optimize the speed of the game so it runs a bit faster because it's written in BASIC. And he then discovered, of course, as happens to most of us when we're doing optimization, you introduce a few bugs that weren't there before. So he discovered there was some bugs, and it only shows up very rarely, so it's kind of hard to track. But he's now got it fixed and seems to be testing. I'm sure he wouldn't mind some other people hitting it and trying to test it as well. But you can get KBB version 110.dsk on the Coco Group files section on Facebook. And then the last one here is the Coco Show. So Aaron and Brent decided to review, well, actually they didn't decide, the voters decided on, but they did Caves of the Unwashed Heathen, which is a 1990s game in SG4 graphics. Written by Paul Shoemaker. We remember from such later hits as Ghost Rush and that type of stuff. And it's written in BASIC, so a little bit slow. Now, if you have a Coco 3, you can run at double speed. If you have a Gimme X, you can run it at triple speed or a Gimme Z. And if you have a Coco 3, it will actually use the palette command and enhance the graphics somewhat by giving you a bunch of extra colors you wouldn't normally get, including making scenes look darker as they're in the distance. So if you're looking down a gray hallway, it'll start with light gray, and the background stuff way in the back will be dark gray. So it actually gives you some visual improvements. Other than that, the gameplay is pretty well the same, just the speed. It has a mapping feature and stuff in it too. And Jim Gary's actually ported this to the MC10. I can't remember if he had to shrink it somewhat to get it to fit, or if he did fit. I know it requires at least the 20K. It might even require the 32K. You have to check on Jim's site here, but it's about a half-hour review of this game, and they were quite actually surprised by it because it's like a homebrew that was given away for free and done very late in the Coco's life. You know, back in the 90s, 15 years after 5 years after the Coco was canceled, maybe even a little bit more. But it's actually quite a good game. I did play it. It's on my website if you guys want to get a little bit of details on it. But it's a rather unforgiving RPG, as most of them are. So if you're into RPG games, I definitely give it a try. And it works on a Coco 1, 2, or 3. So. And that's it. Sorry?
The version that went to the MC10 was called Stinky Sinner.
Oh.
Caves of the Stinky Sinner.
Yeah.
Same thing.
All right, go check it out. They've already picked the next game. That's going to be in probably a month and a half, 2 months. And it's one I don't think most people have played. It was a commercial product, but it was by a fairly small company that appeared in Rainbow in the mid to late 80s. And it's called East World Karate. And it's a hybrid of BASIC and some machine language, when I remember. And I think I have it on my site too, but I don't know too many people have actually played it. I can't remember if it has decent enough scoring that we could use it in a challenge. But since there's not a lot of martial arts games in the Coco, there's like Kung Fu Dude from Sundog, and I guess you could consider Warrior King kind of that. Come Guide to be Ninja, obviously, for the Coco 3 is a good one. But this is another one, and this is Coco 1 and 2. So if you guys are interested in that one, they won't be recording that particular episode for probably a month and a half, 2 months. But if you guys want to give it a shot in the meantime and send me some reviews, I'll send them up to them, and they can actually read your reviews on air. And you guys can weigh in on what you think of that game. And that's it for the gaming news this week. So now on to the Game On Challenge. Take it away, Ken and Sloopy.
Okay, shall we run the
Game
On results?
Okay.
Yeah, I give them time to wake up anyway. So.
All right. Do we need a commercial break to wake them up?
I'm ready. I just got a coffee to wake up. So.
Yeah, this should be the last segment. So if you want to shorten the show a bit, Mark, we can just go straight into it, or you can play the intro. Take your pick.
Well, it's all part of the same button.
Let her rip.
Rick, do the timestamps.
Welcome everybody to the CoCoNation Game On Challenge of the Week results video. This week, we played Bubble Bobble. We had a total of 10 players. Jason Warrens submitted a score but asked it not to be counted because he discovered a bug on level 1 where you could sit and score unlimited points. Mr. Dave 6309 submitted a mystery score. Mark B 5350, Mike Zweifel 17675, Jim Rye 25650, Rich N 25800, Coconut Bob 33775, Sloopy Malibu 39525, Canadian Retro Things 46375, and this week's number one score belongs to the person that beat the game all 20 levels, Dr. Ted with 95,400. Thanks
What about
everybody that
Mr.
played,
Dave?
and we'll see you again next week.
Mr. Dave had a mystery score. Wouldn't that be at the top?
Mystery score? Well, I mean, it could have been 0. It could have been 100,000. It was a mystery.
then-
I don't know.
Well, then I could play in those games then, and give a mystery score.
You could if you just want to submit a screenshot with no score showing and saying it's a mystery.
Did he do that too?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
He said his mystery score should be Sloopy's score plus or times something, but I hadn't gotten to Sloopy's score yet, so that was a 0. So it was a 0 error.
Yeah, 0 times 0. So
yeah.
All right. Well, before we get too far down a rabbit hole, the CoCoNation salutes Dr. Ted.
Salute. When are we gonna make him a little like trailer thing like we used to have for Buck?
Well, as soon as we can find Rob Inman again.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him in quite a long time either.
All right, so Bubble Bobble. Obviously, it's based on an old 1980s arcade game. However, this one only had 20 levels, as Dr. Ted found out, and I think the arcade game's got something like 78 levels or something like that. So, I would have to say it's a pretty good version of Bubble Bobble. Seems to run very, very smoothly on the Coco. I'd actually like to try it actually on the Spectrum to see how it runs on there under the AGD games. But obviously it's a new game, so there's no reviews of it. So I guess the reviews are, what did you guys think of it? Curtis, I know you had a lot of fun playing it the other night.
It was so bad that even though I could have gone back to stream and like screenshotted a high score for myself, I didn't bother. That's how impressed I was. But I wasn't a great fan of the original arcade game either. So
I love the original arcade game. So I guess that just goes to show that you have no taste.
Yeah,
it's different. It's the difference between Battleford and Saskatoon.
Yeah. Well, it's basically like, if it ran under OS9, I'd love it. But since it doesn't.
Actually, it would be good to run under. Well, actually, you can on this particular game, you can slow it down a bit by shooting a bunch of bubbles onto the screen.
Yeah, it didn't have a bug though. It would freeze up. Or
yeah,
something
if you shot too many bubbles, it would freeze the game. All the bad guys would freeze in place, and then the bubbles wouldn't pop. So
yeah, I wonder if that's just because it's overloading, like based on a timer interrupt or something to keep things synced, and then it overflows. Like maybe you could go in and like turn on 609 native mode and fix it or something.
Possibly, but there was a few bugs in it that I discovered over the time. Like there's another one where sometimes if you didn't have to kill the last guy to finish the level, I don't know why, but sometimes if you just got the one guy in a bubble and then got the second last guy in a bubble and then got the last guy in a bubble and popped the one with the last guy, then it would end the level without you having to get the other guy.
Okay.
But
these types of bugs, if you guys should report on the World of Dragon forums to Paris Rat.
But it happened randomly, so.
Yeah, but it definitely is a bug. And you guys found some other bugs in it too, like the fact that it freezes when you put too many bubbles and stuff. So
that, and the other bug is that when a bad guy can kill you and when the bubble around him pops are not synced up, because he can still be in the bubble, and if you hit him, he'll kill you about maybe 1.5 seconds before the bubble pops.
Yeah, because sometimes like Pears he's not a massive arcade game player. He's the guy converting all of these. So he might not be aware there's a little conversion
But
quirks that are kicking around. But if
I
he
mean,
gets notified, he usually does fix them. So if you guys have a list,
is that
please send
a
them.
is that a conversion quirk, or is it a problem with the original code? So
Well,
As it
either way,
said,
I mean, he can fix it, and maybe he can notify the original AGD guys. You got a bug in this game too. So
yeah, I guess.
either way, it helps out everybody. So I would definitely report them if you can. The World of Dragon forums is a good place too. He's active on there.
Okay. So Sloopy, you can get right on that.
He's so energetic today, folks.
Absolutely. I think he just woke up.
Yeah,
Well,
him and Nick.
although actually, with the news, I think we all just woke up.
True. Absolutely true.
I just woke up an hour ago.
I mean, Qui-Gon's already rubbing his eyes here, trying to get the sleep out of it from the news section. So,
we don't call it the snoozy newsy for nothing.
yeah, Rick Eland actually was clean shaven before I started the news.
They were repairing the roof upstairs, so I was up at 6 o'clock this morning.
Well, my neighbors were having a Canada Day party last night, and probably tonight because it's also been going on all afternoon. So there's been loud music playing all. I mean, I keep telling my mom to keep it. I keep telling my mom to keep it down, but she won't.
Just cranking out the Elvis tunes, is she?
No, it's Metallica.
A progressive mom. Interesting.
So, yeah, I don't know what else to say about Bubble Bobble, but obviously you weren't a fan of the original, Curtis, so you didn't.
Yeah,
like this
gameplay
much,
wise, I mean, it is interesting. I mean, it was more the controls I was trying to get used to, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah, the controls on it seem a little looser than the actual game. Like, I don't know if there's something about the way that the bad guys move, but they seem to be a little bit better at tracking you than they are in the arcade game.
Yeah, they definitely were coming after me pretty good there. I only got to the second level once, I think, the entire time I played it.
Yeah.
Graphically, though, it looks nice. It's one of the ones, better looking ones, I think, for the AGD system, because it's not really designed to have all those background color blocks that the Spectrum normally does. So you get those weird inverted chunks of things. It actually looks quite good, and there is no other Bubble Bobble for the Coco. So that's it, folks. And you said some people actually completed the game, so obviously it's more me is the problem in my case.
Yeah. I think my highest, I played it some more even after I submitted my score last night. I actually got a way better score than I submitted, but I think I made it to level 14, 15, something like that.
Oh, so, wow. You did good then. Them's Dr. Ted level scores there.
Yeah. Not quite Dr. Ted's level. I think I made it into the 60,000s or something like that. But
I would definitely say if you were a fan of Bubble Bobble in the arcade or on some of the other machines that got official ports of it, and you've never played it on, you don't have it on the Coco because we never had a clone of it before, then I would definitely go grab it. It's one of the better AGD games, I think.
I agree.
I got a game question, which, I don't play games much, so I don't know the answer to this, but, maybe I'm just dumb asking it, but how many games on the Coco actually keep a score till the next time you come on and play? Is that something that most people just don't program because it's too hard, or?
Oh, you mean like they save the high score table to the disc or the?
Yeah,
or just for the current session, because a lot of the Coco games do keep it for the current session.
They do.
Yeah, there's not a lot that keep it like burn it, like rewrite the disc, but.
Yeah, mainly because a lot of the old games were on cassette too, and it's a pain in the ass to save it on a cassette and then have to reload it the next time.
On the game that I like, it does it. You keep playing it, it'll keep saving it. And you progressively get better, or you can get a little worse. But it saves it, and then you play the game. You come back to it, you put your name in again, and it gives the score. But then when you come back to it, it's clean slate.
Yeah, because it doesn't save it to disk. And Defense, I think, was originally designed for cassette, so it probably.
And that's really hard to do on a cartridge.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and then you had the password system where the game would give you a password to key in the next time you started the game, which, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, that wasn't done in the Coco too often, though. I can't think of many games that did that.
So would you say
Ghostbusters on the Commodore 64?
Yeah, Digger 3 did it.
I remember
every time you completed a level, you'd get a password, and then you could start on that level only after you had the password for it. So,
although with with the way that Ghostbusters did it, would actually save your score, save your everything. Like it would save. So when you
Yeah. There's a
typed in the new
TurboGrafx
password-
game I did that. Well, one of the well, both Devil's Crush and Alien Crush did that too. And actually, I figured out on Devil's Crush what each character meant.
Yeah.
Like, this has your part of your score and part of your number of men left, and this and this and this. And I actually figured it out that you could cheat and just give yourself a score, as many balls you want, start whatever, wherever you wanted to. I don't do that on the CoCoNation game show, I should mention.
So
And you better not,
but I don't.
You better not do it. Sorry, go ahead.
95% of the games don't do it, or even more.
Save to disk, I would say, is fairly rare. Like Sailor Man does, for example. There's a few later ones where they assume people at disk drives would start putting it in. Like some of the OS9 ones actually do, like Space Zap and Gem Quest and a bunch of others there. They will save it because they pretty well know you have a, not pretty well, they know you have a disk drive because you can't run OS9 off cassette.
All right, so here's the other question: when they do have that table, would it like if you kept playing it over and over again, or you had a bunch of people playing it, it would only have a space for a certain amount of
Yeah, like say
saves,
top
right?
10 or top 5 or scores or whatever. Yeah.
Or would rotate or whatever through.
Yeah, it would just knock off the lower ones. And
Right, okay.
Whenever
Yeah.
you somebody beat it.
Yeah. Most of the OS9 ones have that as a separate file. So if you want a clean slate and start over, you can just delete the high score file. Rescue and Fractals is an example, for example, as an example.
But even the old arcade games back in the 80s, they would only
Yeah, very
save
rarely
the
they
high score
saved it in
tables.
like Flash ROM or something. It would you unplug
Yeah.
it and then all the scores are reset and you plug it back in.
So it was really annoying when you would get like a really high score, like the local arcade never turned their machines off, so the high score is saved for an extended period of time. But if there was ever a power outage and you got a really good score on a machine and you were proud of that, and then you go back the next day and it's like nothing.
So if you took no picture, you had no record.
Right.
Correct.
You didn't take pictures back then.
I think there was some cabinets that did have like some battery
backup later though.
for the RAM.
Yeah.
For the high score table that it did.
That's pretty cool.
Some double A's or something.
I just always wondered that.
But
if you like
that's
Bubble Bobble,
actually
I definitely would give it a try. For sure.
one of the problems with the AGD games is that very rarely do they ever even give you, they don't save the high scores, and very rarely do they ever give you time to even see your high score before the screen resets itself when you die. Like this is another one where you die and it's gone. So you don't even have time to like take a screenshot or anything.
Yeah, which is why I didn't submit a score. I did have a score. But...
So that's why it's a good, when we're playing games like that, it's a good idea to come onto the CoCoNation Game On Challenge live on Thursday nights to play the game, because then you can go back through the show and take a picture of your score.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the host should go do that for me because I'm lazy. You know, if I participated, like you guys keep begging me to do, and then you guys can go look up what my score was and put
Yeah,
it in.
Sloopy, why don't you're the host. Why aren't you doing that, Sloopy?
He's gonna stay sleeping. He's taking the fifth. He's taking the fifth.
Keeping it family friendly.
All right. Well, anyways, that's Bubble. Oh, sorry.
This is a tail feather because you don't deserve the whole bird.
I think that means yes in geek speak, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Or you can count the 4 in binary on your fingers.
Anyway, continue on, Ken.
All right. So, Bubble Bobble, definitely, if you're a fan of the arcade game or of any of the ports on other systems, I would definitely go try this out. I'm pretty sure you'll have fun. So the other game that we played was Bugs, the award-winning Bugs.
Correct.
And yeah, that's one that definitely we should port it to Nitrous 9 so that we can slow the system down to play the game. Because
who was the creator?
Dave Schuchen and Roland Knight, I believe, who also worked for DICOM and published games after that. But that was their very first shot at a commercial level game, even though it was just a contest winner in a magazine.
And I mean, it's a good game, but it's frustrating because a lot of what you have to do is not completely obvious. So you have to read the instructions because there is a few different keys that you have to use. Like, for instance, there's little cubbies that you go into, and then you hit enter and you pick up an item. So if it's a rocket launcher, you hit F to fire that rocket launcher. If it's a key, you have to hit the clear key when you're by a door to see if the key works. And that's where the adventure side of this game comes in, because you have to... Each key only goes with one door, so you have to... Basically, I would say try and keep some sort of a map so that you know where to go to get the key for that door, and then because you have to do it in order, because there's like one door that you can open, and then you have to go find a different key for the next door, and so on and so on. So it's a challenging arcade game with definite adventure game stuff in it. So
yeah, it's quite an expansive map. There's a variety of monsters. The thing is, it's got a lot of pixel perfect accuracy for getting into these rooms. You can actually line up your character in a corridor where you can't hit the aliens coming up at, or the bugs coming up at you, because you're, say, on the far right side and they're coming up the far left. So if you're in the middle, you can hit them every time. But if you're a little bit off, they can actually skip by you, then rotate around and just kill you.
Mm-hmm.
I should be pretty good at that game, because I kill all my bugs.
You don't have any bugs, Nick.
That's right.
Yeah, you're totally inexperienced in this game. What are you talking about?
So actually, in Nick's version of this game, there's no bugs. So all you have to do is go around and find the keys and go open doors.
You just have to figure out what all keys match what doors. Yeah, there you go. It's also got some nice Easter eggs too. Like it's got the initials of the authors and a rock in the middle of the maze somewhere.
Was there a Bugs too?
Yes, that was their commercial one they actually sold, with a more expansive map and some different shapes and stuff added.
Now, one thing I do have to say that I did not like in this game, the game that I did the best in it, there is a part where there's a wall that crushes you if you go by it. And
I forgot about that. Yeah.
There is no indication that that is there. So you just going down a corridor and all of a sudden the wall just squish. So I find that as a really, really cheap thing to do. Like there should at least be something like some sort of a little wavy thing on the wall or something like that you can see that something's going to happen there.
Yeah, I think they did that on purpose, mainly because they wanted the adventure aspect where you explore and then you learn something the first time it happens. And then when you come back, you know it's there. That's what they were shooting for. But I agree, it's a cheap death.
The only problem is that I've went down so many different corridors looking for where to match keys up against. I don't know where that was. So I'm not going to know again until it squishes me.
Yeah, Bugs is one of the games I should go through. I've done this on a couple. Like I've tried doing it with Rad War and a few others of trying to get screenshots of every single screen and then laying them out so it actually forms the map. I really should go through Bugs and Bugs 2 and try to do that as much as I can so that people will at least get a bit of a head start. And maybe put little warnings like, this is where the wall crushes you type of thing.
I would like to be the first one to ask AI to make the game finish with the high score for me. You wouldn't do it, would it? He has no clue about the games.
Nope,
right?
I don't think AI is very good at playing games.
No.
No, I can't even beat an Atari 2600 at chess, for God's sake.
Really?
Yeah, I'd lost.
Oh,
repeatedly.
So, an Atari 2600 is smarter than AI.
Correct. Wow. Well, now that AIs have started to learn to lie, which has been happening now, they're actually giving incorrect answers. You can't trust anything it's outputting at this point.
Yeah,
well, I mean, it's not that they're lying. It's just that they get all their information from the internet, and the internet is full of lies. So, and it can't distinguish between something that is written by some crackpot that lives in a hovel out in the woods and some scientist that wrote a
hey, don't talk about
paper.
My cousin that way.
Yeah, really.
Hey. So what you're telling me is that a 28 gauge wire can't handle 7 amps?
It could handle it.
Is this a hardware joke? I'm not a hardware guy, so I don't understand.
It could handle it for a very brief amount of time.
7 amps going through 28 gauge wire would be correctly termed a filament.
Wouldn't it be a Tesla experiment?
Yeah.
Well, Tom Eric Anderson added to this about the Atari 2600 beating AI. He says the 2600 chess game on easy mode even it lost.
Well, it beat me too, so
Well, I mean, it makes sense. AI is copying everyone else, and we all suck at chess. So
yeah.
Yeah, but like Ken said, I mean, it's copying stuff that was wrong to begin with, and people keep kind of correct it, trying to teach it, but people also are on purpose trying to teach it wrong. And so this is just
Well,
an
it's not even on
quagmire
purpose.
mess.
That's just the internet. When you're
Some
when
have
you're
been doing it on
teaching-
purpose because they want to see it fail.
Well, yes, but when you're teaching something by it just skimming the internet, I mean,
wrong. Yeah.
I would say more than 50% of the internet is probably not true.
And the answer is it does give you the most simplified, direct, ignore every nuance answer, which is pretty much useless. It's the first thing you would have thought of anyway. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm not as huge fan of AI as when it first came out. I'm actually getting less and less enthralled with the whole damn thing.
Well, that's because you get disappointed so many times. I asked them to fix the picture for me, and they made the travel trailer in the background into a little home with a chimney. And it never had a chimney. I was saying, what is that back there?
Yeah, Google from 10, 15 years ago was smarter than AI is now.
Yep. Actually, I'm finding my search results are getting worse.
Yeah.
I have noticed that.
Well, also because places like Google are, hiding a lot of the the good search results for the ones where companies are paying them lots of money to put their search results at the front.
It's a scam.
Next time there'll be a scientific research paper about the regression of AI. They got so smart.
Except you won't be able to find it through AI because, of course, it'll self-regulate. You're not going to tell people I'm bad, so you're not going to see that.
How about asparagus on the AI stuff?
Correct.
Sure.
Let's go.
Oh man, I was just warming up.
This could be a very long show if we're just going to sit here and pick apart AI.
And I'm getting hungry, so don't do that.
Did you say this was the last one?
Last one what?
Which?
Segment of the show?
I believe so.
Yeah, except for the outro, yeah.
Is there? Yep.
Yeah, speaking of which, how was the Game On Challenge live?
We were here.
Well, I guess we'll
look at Sloopy bringing it back on track.
It was really good. How about? Oh crap! I don't have that loaded up. If you give me a second. Boy, this movie, AI. Could you bring me the CoCoNation Game On Challenge live?
There you go.
And I'll show you an episode of the Taylor and Amy show.
That'd be more interesting.
True.
All right. So, how about I share a screen, and we can see a lot of people playing bugs. There we go. As you can see, 2 people playing Bubble Bobble and 2 people playing bugs.
Yeah, we had a total of 5 people playing. It was a pretty successful show.
It was a bit longer of a show too than we've been doing lately.
Yeah, because we had actual people playing.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't there.
You get AI people playing?
Did we get what?
Most of the people playing are AI.
Yes. with one of them being NS, the bottom left. And for those that don't know, NS is the opposite of AI.
Oh, okay. So basically, you can see. I'll just give another little summation of bugs there. You can see there's you're just traveling through the screens of basically a maze there, and trying not to get killed. And the little squiggly things that are blocking the thing there, that's a door that you can use a key. Where the bug just went in on that one, that's where you pick up items. So we picked up a tiny glass key. You can only carry 1 item at a time. But if you go into another alcove, each alcove only has 1 thing in it. If you go into another alcove, you just exchange that item for whatever's there. So then the tiny glass key will be in whatever alcove you go to, and you'll be carrying whatever was there.
So you're actually a bug.
Yeah, it's supposed to be some sort of a bug-shaped spaceship or something. There's quite an intricate little story behind the game, so.
It's graphically quite nice. It's a well-designed game as far as graphics go.
Yeah,
The
I think
controls are a bit too tight. I think that, like, I'm trying to line up to get into a cubby.
That, and it runs a little too quickly,
Yeah.
I think.
No, that's just because we're old now. I had no problem with the speed when I was young. Sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, well, like us old people, we don't have any time to think. And it takes a
Exactly.
while for our brains to kick into gear and think.
And we don't have the memory we used to, so we don't remember where the hell this key worked with what door and whatever. So.
Yeah, I'm down to 4K.
Yeah, I have original
much.
Micron technology.
I'm an original Coco 1.
Does the command no op fit in the program somewhere if you were to
Yeah,
alter it?
I'm gradually replacing all my op codes with no op. That's how my brain's working.
Yeah, I have a full 64K, but it's all Micron technology RAM.
Well, Restream just threw me some error about the chat. Not sure what that's about, but it went away.
We said AI too many times.
Yeah, AI's mad.
The
Now
AI
we've
is
made the
defending
AI
itself
mad.
now.
Yeah. That's it.
The robot's mad.
I'm sorry.
Seems to be synced.
Okay, so
and Ron, you gave it all of its your personal data earlier you were sharing, so it's really going to come after you now.
Yeah. Meh, meh, meh.
So yes, join us Thursday at 8 p.m., 5 p.m. Pacific, for the Game On Challenge live, where we will.
Bugs is one more week, correct?
Yes, Bugs is one more week. Where next week we will be playing. What is it, Ken?
Oh, well, this is a wonderful game. Did you mention where people can join us for the Game On Challenge Live?
No, I didn't, but they should be knowing where to join us. Because I mean, anybody knows the Coco Discord.
Yeah, but we get new people every week. So they need to know.
And also we are getting a little older and losing some of our memory chips. So, that information might have been on a dead memory chip.
Yeah. What show am I on again?
The CMOS battery is getting a bit weak.
Who are you?
It's neat to see the new people say, "What's an SDC?"
Yeah. Well, actually, I like that because the fact we're getting more and more people joining and getting Cocos or getting the emulators again, I think is awesome. But anyway, so Bugs one more week, and it's you guys want to rattle off when and where to watch or participate in the show.
You can watch us on Twitch or YouTube on Thursday nights, as Sloopy said, and it is in the Game On Challenge live channel on Discord, and anybody is welcome to join. And we prefer you play the game of the week, or at least try the game of the week. But any old Coco game will do, or you could just sit in there and make fun of us. Because we make fun of everybody else. So.
Because the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Goes both ways, huh?
So you're saying I could sit there and play Predator?
Yes, you could.
Yeah.
You may cause brain damage, but you could do it.
Expect to get
just
heckled.
make sure you mute yourself. Neutron. Just mute yourself.
Neutron, that sounds good. Is it anything like that great game Neutroid?
Yeah, very similar to Knockoff.
Uh-huh.
Is there a spy versus spy game?
Yes, on the Dragon. And I ported the Coco after.
All right, so now the next game of the week is going to be really easy to guess because it's one of those ones that has the title on every screen. I do have to say though, if you look on this website from what's that guy's name?
Curtis.
L Curtis Boyle. L Curtis Boyle.
One right above your head.
Yeah, that L Curtis Boyle guy. He actually has all the cheat codes on his website, so don't use them, please.
Most games that I play have the same name of it all the time. It's Game Over.
Now, this was a very ambitious Dragon game that actually had, I believe it's 4 voice music on it.
Wow.
That's ambitious.
Oh, right, yeah, Fire Force.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
This
So
one is
it's,
visually and audibly awesome, but
gameplay,
it's too damn hard.
Yeah, it's hard. It's actually interesting because
European hitboxes.
it's got 3 different levels that are really quite different from each other. The first one, you're running through the jungle, and you're shooting guys, and they're shooting back at you. The second
Kind
screen,
of like a
you're
commando
running,
style game or
yeah,
something.
like a commando style game. And then the next one, you're running just across the screen on a bridge.
Wait a minute,
And
Commando style is running naked, isn't it?
Good Lord, Ron, what were you watching during the news here?
AI.
I don't think you were on YouTube anymore there, buddy.
Man.
Anyways, the second level, you're running across a bridge, and it's just like a runner game. Like you're just going straight across.
Dragon fire.
Yeah, dodging bullets and shooting guys. And then the third one,
Yeah,
you're flying a plane.
We played that recently.
You're not going to say Commando anymore, are you?
Nope. and technically, Ron, Commando is just not wearing any underwear.
Oh.
Yeah, you still have clothes on.
Oh.
Yeah, you still have clothes, but no underwear. So maybe that guy is running in through the jungle Commando. Because, you know.
It's for improved ventilation.
You hear bells
Yeah.
ringing?
And what's
It's hot and humid in the jungle, so.
Oh, jeez.
There's
a view.
Oh my!
And Ken, you're not going to show pictures of the bridge or the plane because nobody will actually make it that far without cheat codes, right?
Nope. I don't have any pictures of that right now. If you want to see pictures, you can look on L Curtis Boyle's
I would not have
website.
got shots of the other levels if it hadn't been for the cheat codes. I will say that right up front.
So just so you can see, this is the title screen.
European style hitboxes, huh? Got to
Yeah.
be precise here.
European
But a really
style
good
game.
music soundtrack. I mean, yeah, that is absolutely correct.
Now, the guy who did this then went on to the Amiga and did a version of Fire Force on the Amiga.
Oh, I
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep, hang on,
So
I've got it here somewhere.
What is
Okay.
AMS?
I'll wait
It
till-
says he did this using AMS. Is that an Amiga system?
Amiga music
I'm
system.
not sure, but
Might be. I don't know.
yeah,
it
you
might
can
be.
see. I have got it here, but I'll wait till after this segment we can play a bit. Oh, can I
It's
share
all
now?
you.
Can I?
Segment's
I'll
over.
just try and share. Hang
Don't
on.
forget to share your sound.
Check the
share
volume.
this sound. I've got it.
At the end, say that you're sorry, like usual.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Sorry for playing an Amiga game on the CoCoNation.
There it is, huh?
That's all right. We already played Doom.
There we are. Gibbons. That's the same guy, was it?
One of them, yeah. That was one of the authors, yeah. Here you go, Nick. Convert this one over to the Coco 3.
I'll just fast forward a bit. Hang on.
Oh no, it's the choppers.
Get to the chopper.
Get to the choppers.
Oh, I can't tell the difference between this and the Coco version.
No.
Yeah, this
it's the
one doesn't
same
have enough
program.
green, though, so I think the Coco version's superior.
Coco version's got a better green. So this is more what the kind of like the
Yeah, can you turn the volume down there?
I
Nick?
just turned off the sound.
But this looks more like
this is,
Vietnam.
yeah, this is more actually what the second stage is like, except there's no towers and stuff. Where
Right,
you're running
anyway.
across this.
Yeah,
Yep,
there's a
looks
tower.
exactly. It looks exactly like the Coco version.
I don't see the word commando there anyway.
Anyway. But yeah, it's interesting to see that programmer moved on. And you can see the graphics that he does in the Coco version is quite good. He does look like he's a good programmer. So he obviously moved on. And
It's technically a Dragon version because that game was originally
It's probably a British
Dragon
guy.
game.
Yeah, he's probably a British fellow. Yeah.
It's similar military font, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with the game when I first started playing it until I actually got into playing it. Then I got lots impressed because it's UK typical. It's too hard.
Yeah.
The
But I think
hitboxes
it's-
suck. Bullets can miss, and
It's a very impressive game to kind of behold, like that it was originally made. I think it was originally the Dragon 32 that it was on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's
honestly, if you want a better one for play wise, but also has like multi-voice SID chip style sound effects and stuff, then I would pick Stuart Orchard's Return of the Beast, which is a Time Pilot 84 clone.
Yeah, but we're playing this one, so
yeah, it's worth it just to hear the music. Actually, I mean, it's quite impressive.
I mean, it's not always going to be great games that we choose, but some of them have redeeming qualities in other ways. So
yeah, even if they're by Nick, I mean, we got the one example. So
yes, because we can't play Neutroid every week. We have to play other lesser games.
Yeah, I would use the word play loosely there.
I don't know. I think Nick's got enough versions of Neutroid that we could play it every week.
You guys are just compensating for something.
Yes, they're small RAM. Their Coco 3s are only 128K.
He's going to make it all right with the new game that he's currently working on, so that's good.
Absolutely. When is that coming out, Nick? I'm waiting.
Oh, probably another 5 years, I'd say.
Why don't you just pretend it's a version of Neutroid? It'll be ready next week then.
You guys.
We ready for the outro now?
Absolutely.
This concludes another episode of the CoCoNation, the world's leading live interactive talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things the CoCoNation, visit us on the web at thecoconation.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to show@thecoconation.com. The CoCoNation show would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. The CoCoNation theme song, copyright 2022 D. Bruce Moore, mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. The CoCoNation is over. Join us on the Coco Discord server.
Coco forever.
All right.
Okay, so for next week, bring your bongs, hookahs, and rolling papers. Because we're going to have some fun.
For
Say
what?
it, Nick.
We're sorry.
That's great.
Okay, so you know what? I need to change the view. Where's my mouse? There it is. We need to have everybody on the screen. There we go.
Change the view so we can end this thing.
All the
right.
perpetrators in view, yes.
Okay, till next week. Bye. Oh,
Bye,
you know what?
everybody.
Bye.
Hang on. Next week is
Commando week.
July.
The day after July the 4th.
Yes, it is. July 5th. Okay. All right. So no effect on the show. Sounds good. Bye, everybody. See you next week. Where's the button?